There's the
Whew.
crown jewel there. You know, that's
Whew.
Leonardo da Vinci there. No, that's the Joe Jusko Battle Spectra 2016 Juggernaut versus Colossus. I mean, but man, whenever you see this thing up close and personal, dude, it's unfucking believable, dude. It's truly such a nice piece of fine art. It's absolutely insane.
Time, space, collecting. A multiverse of stories shaped by the choices we make. We are your guides across the Marvelverse, exploring everything from the MCU to cards and collectibles. Because every piece we collect tells a story. The question is, what does yours say about you?
Yo, yo, yo! What is up, everybody? Welcome into Across the Marvelverse, episode number 13. It is Saturday, October 11th. Thank you so much for joining in. It's also the day of New York Comic Con, so literally, as I'm saying this right now, we're probably getting Marvel news that we don't even know
Yeah.
about. So that's fun. And dude, Ryan, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you on.
Appreciate you having me, man. You've had a really good variety of different collectors in our space on here so far, and it is a pleasure to be a part of that now. So
Dude,
thanks for having me on.
absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm super excited to get into it. If you do not know Ryan, Ryan is a fantastic collector and really specializes in a master collection of Juggernaut and as well as Colleen Wing. But I believe Juggernaut's your primary focus, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's easier to say that for Colleen because like there's a lot more limited amount of stuff, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So like it's maybe the expanse of like how far I've gone with both the characters is probably pretty close, but there's just far more Juggernaut stuff out there. So yeah, I consider Juggernaut my main PC, but you could argue that I have a pretty much an equal level of that for Colleen as well.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait, man. It's going to be really fun. One thing that's really cool and a reason I wanted you specifically on for this episode is for those of you that have been following along with the show, for about the last 8 episodes or so, we've done a little series of Marvel collecting from different avenues, spheres, realms, whatever you want to call it. We talked about cards, we've talked about art, we've dove into different aspects of cards like sketch cards, comic cuts. We've dove into different types of art, whether it's original, licensed art, or if it's commissions where you're contacting an artist directly to get something that you create together. And we've even gone into figures and talking about Marvel Legends. And one of the reasons I wanted Ryan on is he's someone that I respect a lot and look up to as a collector. And he's someone who I think really fits the narrative of, and there's a million different ways you could define this. But when I think of like a master collector or a master character collector, Ryan's one of the people that comes to mind with his Juggernaut collection. So it'll be really cool to see how you put all these different, I guess, worlds of collecting and how you've disseminated them and put them into your own curated collection.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think about it like very similar. Like I think about like my own collection the same way that you're kind of describing there. That's like kind of like the way my brain navigates as far as like what I want it to do, what I want it to look like, what I want it to be. So yeah, I look forward to sharing that and stuff here today.
Cool. Well, hey, man. Speaking of Marvel, before we get further into this, how did you get into Marvel? Like, what's your Marvel story? How'd you get introduced to it?
So my introduction was so I was born in 1990. My introduction was the Toy Biz action figures. Didn't have
Nice.
any like previous exposure with that. Like those came out. I think the ones that I had were actually probably like second series of those. That came out like at like 92, 93. My dad was big into X-Men and some of the martial arts martial arts comic book storylines. A little bit of Shang-Chi, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Iron Fist, stuff like that. So it was those were like that was like his hyper focus of stuff, and like that's kind of like what led to me to getting exposed to those things. But the action figures were the first items that I had that were Marvel related, and through that, I had my Juggernaut and like various different X-Men and stuff like that figurines that I played with whenever I was really young, and like that's what started the train rolling for me.
So, where did it go from the figures? Did that kind of introduce you and get you wanting to watch the shows and things like that as a kid? Or
A bit. I honestly didn't really watch the X-Men the animated series that much whenever I was growing up. My exposure went from the action figures themselves to like playing with those. Like a lot of people have like mirrored that I've talked to about that, like with like wrestling action figures. I would do like
Yeah,
little
yeah.
battles and stuff like that with them whenever I was young. Like even though
Yeah.
I hadn't really been exposed to the whole world of what they actually were doing, it just kind of like naturally felt like that's what they should be doing based on their attire, which checks out. Then we lived on a naval base in San Diego on Coronado, and there's like a little I can't remember the exact military term for it, but there's like some little shops on the base there, and then they ended up selling the packs of cards inside those stores there.
Oh, okay,
And so
okay.
that's my dad would buy me packs of those and stuff like that, and so I got exposed to the cards even before I got exposed to really anything
Oh,
else.
that's so funny.
And then as I got older, I learned how to read, things like that. I would go through like my dad's little modest collection of books and stuff that he had, and then I got further exposed that way. But like that's the chain of events of how it went. Figures, the cards themselves, then reading the stories in the comic books of just the ones that he had. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really cool. And so where did Juggernaut come in? Like how did this love for Juggernaut?
Just naturally, I just was naturally. I mean, initially, I had like I can't even remember all the figures that I had. I should have probably tried to like figure that out before we got on here. But I had like probably maybe 10 of them. I had like a good collection of them or whatever, and I just always naturally was the costume design I thought looked cool. I just was really just like visually, I should say. I was like I thought that he looked the most badass. And then there's other things that kind of like tied into it as well. My dad was big into bodybuilding. He was like in that Arnold Schwarzenegger era of
Okay.
like doing all that. And so like my dad was like super jacked. I didn't get any of those genetics, which is for whatever reason I got the shit into the stick there. But he was a big burly guy, and the physique. I mean, all those little action figures are like over animated. They make their muscle structure like amplified and stuff like that. But I always thought Juggernaut like kind of like resembled my father's build and stuff like that. So that also like whenever I would do my little battles and games and stuff like that, I was like there at times would pretend that Juggernaut was actually my father, and like that created more of like a sentimental bond to the character and stuff as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, and that's cool too that your dad as well had a lot of the like martial arts influence stuff. It's funny, I've done martial arts my whole life, and I've never dove into like the martial arts side of like those comics and Marvel. And as you're saying it, I'm like, I should
yeah,
probably do that.
he was a bit he liked like the old kung fu movies as well. I got exposed to a lot of that whenever I was younger. Like the Jet Li. I think there's one that was really cool that I think it was called like the Eight Deadly Venoms or something like that. It was like a kind of a cheesy older.
Okay,
And it was
okay.
like these martial artists that had all these super unique martial arts styles that were like would never actually really work, but in the movie they were
Sure,
like
yeah.
so it was yeah, a lot of stuff like that. He was really into that whole scene. As time went on and stuff like that. Like Ong Bak. Yeah, there was some modern stuff that came out that me and him like kind of like checked out together and stuff like that
That's dope. That's
before he
dope.
passed away. So yeah, he was always into that like that martial arts scene and stuff like that. So it kind of tied into the comics and stuff as well.
I love that, man. I love that. All right, well, we're going to dive more into that shortly. I want to jump into some news because speaking of Comic Con that we referenced earlier, which is going on right now, there is some news that we do know preemptively from that. So let's dive into it.
The Watchers Report.
All right, so at New York Comic Con right now, there is some exclusive merch. How could there not be merch, right?
Yeah.
There's always something for you to buy. There is some cool stuff though. A lot of it is pins. I'm not super into pins. If you are, I'd imagine some of these are cool. They have pins from the new Marvel Zombies set. They've got a Deadpool, Storm, Captain America, and Wolverine. They've got some Spider-Verse ones, Hell's Kitchen, just all kinds of stuff. There's a $15 Jeff the Landshark pin and a pink dolphin suit. That's got to
Seems
be
like
a
a
big
deal.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta be a
That's
deal.
got to be a hit.
That's gonna be a sellout there.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say we're gonna see those on eBay for like $200 tomorrow.
Yeah,
I can
yeah, for
guarantee it.
sure, for sure. Yeah.
You've also got some comics up here that are exclusive, and I'm telling you, man, every episode, I swear, I just talk about Jeff the Landshark over and over. There's a Peach Momoko Battle World 1 variant cover. You've got Jeff and Herbie. We talked about it last week. Here it is at New York Comic Con as an exclusive
Yeah.
variant. So he's here, but there's also an Ultimate Spider-Man variant and a Daredevil variant. So if you're into that, that's all there. I'm sure you'll be able to find it on eBay later. The one thing I did want to mention, because this is the only real piece of card news I'm aware of, is there is a Spider-Man #1 variant that you get with an exclusive promo card from the new Magic the Gathering set, and it's pretty cool art. It's got your little corner cut in there. It's got Spider-Man saving somebody on the scene, so pretty neat. If you are into that, it is also promo 0001. So if you're Collector of Magic, Collector of Marvel. There you
It's a
go.
lot of zeros there. There's a lot of room for additional promos there. That's quite a jump there. Four
I
zeros
know.
there. Yeah.
I know. We're gonna talk more about that too in my pickups. I got the Venom, the mana cards, and they're like the one mana card or the one, I don't know even know what to call it. It's like a bonus card you get with the secret lair drop. There's one that will be 7,017, and then there's one that's 3 spots earlier, 7,014. One version is what they call the inked version, and then the other version is what they call the pencil version. But I had no idea that there was even a difference between the two, because online they look almost the same when you look at it. So anyways, yeah, it's hard to figure out the numbers. So I was like, what is this? So those that are used to Magic, you're probably like, yeah, this is the same thing we always see. For me, I'm not used to Magic, so I'm like, yeah, it's a lot. Let's see. There's also a Marvel Zombies comic you can get. You've got Spider-Man on there. And then today they are doing a Walmart exclusive Marvel Zombies #1 variant, where you can get one with Wanda Rising. It's actually really cool art that you can pick up at New York Comic Con. So anyways, that is all that I know right now from New York Comic Con. If you are there, I would love to hear from you and see how it was. And I'm sure that next week we'll be talking all about the New York Comic Con news. X-Men 97 confirmed that season 2 is coming out, and it's expected that Psylocke will make an appearance. So that's pretty cool. We'll see Psylocke get introduced into that. Also in MCU news, just as a FYI, it was expected we would get Eyes of Wakanda season 2, at least it was rumored. And the Axis Studios is actually the studio who produced that animation. They went bankrupt. So now the news is we are likely not getting Eyes of Wakanda season 2. So I guess it's still possible, but it doesn't seem likely at this point. If you are excited for Wonder Man, I'm very excited for Wonder Man. There is the official trailer that has come out. I have not watched it. If you watch this show, you know I never watch trailers. I stay away from them. But if you like trailers, you can go check it out. They did push the release date back from originally it was December of this year. It's now going to be in January. So kind of a bummer they couldn't get it out in 2025, but we should get it Q1 2026. All right, that's it for MCU news. We're going to move into some comics news. A lot of #1s came out this week, and I always talk about when there's a #1 that drops. So the first one is Amazing Spider-Man Torn #1. We've got a bunch of variant covers for this, some pretty cool ones. You've got your blank. You've got one where he's kind of crawling across the wall. I honestly
was that a Miss Piggy variant? Did I just see a Miss Piggy variant?
You did.
Wow.
The Muppets, man, they're going all in on the Muppets 70 years. So you've got Miss Piggy dressed up as Spider-Man,
Really
saving
torn
Kermit.
about that crossover there. To be honest with you, so.
I personally am not the biggest fan of it, but I'm sure there's diehard Muppets fans out there going crazy for it. But it's not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me either.
But it is funny to see. Miss Piggy Spider-Man was not on my bingo card.
Yeah.
This art's pretty cool too. You got a kind of a down shot of Spider-Man looking up at the camera. Yeah, that has the first appearance of Evangeline. So a new character drops in that comic. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I'd imagine it's a good one to pick up. The next is Amazing X-Men #1. This is a tie-in to Age of Revelation. So if you are into that series, this would likely be a good read for you. A lot of different variants here. I don't see anything too crazy to talk about. But if you're into that line, I would imagine this is a good pickup for you. Binary #1 is also dropping. There's a bunch of Age of Revelation tie-ins that dropped this week. I don't know why, but there's a bunch of them. This is another one. You do get some pretty cool art there.
That's a pretty like that character design's a little close to Phoenix, I feel like.
I thought the same exact thing. So I don't know what's going on with that, to be honest. I'm not familiar with the story, but
click on those one more time. The variant covers there.
Yeah.
Just scroll down just a minute. That one on the bottom left there. Click on that one. Yeah, Jeremy Wilson.
Jeremy Wilson.
Yeah, he's part of TD Art Gallery stuff. I thought I recognized that artwork there. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's
really
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. That's some really cool art by Jeremy. And it says this is Binary, and the universe burns with her. X years later, in the ashes of the old world, to survive, she is reborn, a cosmic force channeling the Phoenix itself. So it looks like we do have another iteration of Phoenix.
Okay.
So interesting.
We're tying into the DC 45 different variations of the character stuff here. It seems like
that is what it seems like. We do have Avengers 31. I actually picked up this book this week at my local comic book shop. I picked up both of the Wanda covers for it. She had one They're doing a bunch of Tron
That
tie-ins
Tron
too.
one is sick, actually. That
Yeah.
Tron one looks really good. Who's the artist on that one? Does it say?
The Tron, it
Mohammed
is Muhammad Asar. Yep. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. If you are, and of course we got the Muppets.
Yeah, yeah, sick, dude.
But if you are a Scarlet Witch fan like me, Avengers 31 is an important read if you are up to date. This is literally where they left off from the most recent Scarlet Witch and Vision run. So it says that this is the next comic in line to pick up and continue that story. So I'm excited to read it. I haven't got a chance to sit down and look through it yet, but it looks like it'll be fun. All right, we've got Imperial War, Imperial Guardians #1. If you're into Super Scroll, I don't know many people into Super Scroll, but if you are, this I guess is for you. So
He's a good character too. I don't think he gets enough love, dude. I think he's a pretty
I know I
like
don't I
his
never hear anyone
concept
talk about him.
is really unique. I think, yeah.
So yeah, hey, if you like Super Scroll and you want to character collect, it's probably a
Yeah, it's a
solid
very
opening for you to
untapped
pick up
market,
some
yeah, for
amazing
sure.
stuff. But moving on, we've got Laura Kinney, Sabretooth #1. Shout out to our buddy Graydon. I can't think of Sabretooth, I'm thinking of Graydon. But this is the first appearance of Laura as Sabretooth. And this is also an Age of Revelation tie-in. So we've got some pretty cool comic covers here.
Man, they're really pushing for this like new generation of stuff here, aren't they? I haven't really been paying that much attention to the books as far as like stuff like this goes. But like we got a Sabretooth here, a Phoenix, right? You have Kid Juggernaut that just came out. You know, like they're really like trying to like set their talons into this new generation and maybe try to like bring up the like the next generation of people with these newer character like iterations.
Oh, for sure.
I hadn't really like been paying attention to like how frequently this seems to be happening, but this is pretty wild here. It's pretty eye opening.
Yeah, and it's every week. Like every week when I'm looking at the new comic books dropping, there's more and more of this. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know how I feel about that, honestly, but
I like it to an extent, but sometimes it feels like they're going too far into it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's so many different tie-ins happening, and there's so many different characters popping up like
Yeah,
this, and you're talking about I can't even keep up with it all.
that's what's hard for me about the comics nowadays too. Is like once you have kind of like laid that foundation of like your character or like whatever genre or not genre, but series that you're trying to read, it's like there's so much deviation and tie-in books and all this stuff anymore. It's really, really like overwhelming to try to like keep up with the
Extremely.
entire storylines, and that's kind of shied me away from like picking up like more modern series and stuff like that because it's just too much like content to be keeping up with.
It took me weeks. I made my own Scarlet Witch guide because I didn't like any of the ones on the internet. They just weren't good enough for me.
Yeah,
I needed a perfect chronological order that hit every key event for the character and took away the fluff so I could actually read it. Because
yeah,
otherwise, the reading list is so insane, it would take years to get through. I wanted
right.
something where I could get through, read the key moments. And it's so confusing when you start really getting to some of the more modern
Yeah,
books. It took so long for me
and
to,
then
and
you
I
have
still
like
don't know if it's right.
yeah, and you have ones like where like you have like the vintage storyline, right? And then like they'll come back 20 years later and try
Yep.
to continue from the moment that one ended and stuff like that. And like that's like really, really like super tedious, dude. Like I it makes it very hard.
Yeah, it does. It does. We have a really cool book that I'm actually going to hit up my local comic shop. I didn't know about it until this morning. Legend has it. So this
I
is,
love this art here too. I love it.
dude, it's so cool. It says Mass Appeal Marvel Team Up for comic book series. Legend has it. It's a collaboration that reimagines some New York hip hop legends as
Oh
superheroes
yeah, yeah.
in
I'm
a
looking at
new
this now.
creative venture. I've got to get this, dude. The
Yeah,
first name on there, Big L. Dude, I
yeah.
love Big L.
Who's the
Uh,
artist on this cover here? Do we have any info?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I'll find out.
Yeah, we'll
That
have
is
to
great.
find out.
That's great art there though. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
dude, it's so cool. They've got if you're a fan of hip hop, they got Big L, De La Soul, DJ Premier, Ghostface, Mobb Deep, Nas, Raekwon, Slick Rick. It, it's so cool, and they're all on the cover as these superheroes. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
yeah,
fire, dude.
yeah. I'm messaging my guy at the comic book shop and seeing if he can put one aside for me. So definitely check that out. I have no idea how desirable this is or isn't. I don't know if it's limited, so I'm hoping I can grab it. Hopefully, we've got Long Shots #1. Just want to throw this in there because it's #1. You've got actually a really cool looking Mojo cover, just as the base art for this. And you got a bunch of variants for it as well. I'm not familiar with the storyline. It looks decent. If you're a Mojo fan, X-Men fans, maybe something to check out. Looks like it features Wonder Man, Hellcat, Bishop, Rhino, and Craven. There's a ton of these. Sorry in advance. For those listening, if you're not into comics, you can just fast forward. But this is probably the most stacked comic book week that I've had since starting the show. Just how many key issues came out. This is Marvel Knights Punisher #1. This has the first appearance of El Zombie. It's going to be a 4-issue series. You've got just some cool classic looking Punisher art there. I really like this one, this action shot of him jumping through the window. It's pretty dope looking.
I really like Jimmy Palmiotti's writing as well. I think he's like the next best art, or well, at least for my personal taste, he's my second favorite writer behind Claremont. I
No
think that he
kidding.
does really
Okay.
good stuff. Yeah, I think he does really, really good, especially on mini series like this. He does a really good job. So this one's probably like going to be worth checking out for sure.
Nice, nice. We have Marvel Black, White, and Blood and Guts #1. Cover artist E.M. Gist did a great job on it. This is, if you're a horror fan, this may be for you. This is another limited 4-issue series of horror stories. So you've got
cool.
all different covers going on here. I really like this one with Blade and Moon Knight on the cover. That's pretty dope.
That Man Thing one is fire up there too. Actually, I wonder who the artist is on that.
Yeah,
Top right.
that one is really cool. And I like
that
how
Paul
they have
Revere?
this. Well, we can find out.
Oh my gosh, dude, is that what we're?
So I
Paul
don't know.
Revere getting chased by Man Thing and Morbius and somebody else there. That's wild.
Yeah, it's really cool. This Blade looks great.
Yeah.
And this one, it's got this kind of monochrome red look to it. You've got Cyclops on there. Really cool stuff. So, this looks, is that a thing, Abe Lincoln? Does it look like that?
Or is that Colossus?
Oh no, that's Colossus. That's a
Yeah.
Colossus Abe Lincoln.
Wow.
It looks like.
Yeah, looks like there's some historical crossover here with this too. I mean, we got Abraham Lincoln here, and then Paul Revere on some of these. So maybe there's
Yeah.
some like what if involved in this a little bit.
I wonder if there is. But this cover's great. That's Joshua Cassara. Really good stuff. So yeah, pretty cool to check out if you're into that type of thing. We have Return to Planet Hulk #1. This is a one-shot celebrating 20 years of this arc. So just kind of a cool ode to
Just a callback,
Planet
essentially.
Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a couple left. Strange Tales. I did pick up this one. This one looks really cool. It was made in October for Halloween. It's Strange Tales #1, and apparently this is like Wiccan hosting a D&D session.
Oh wow. So yeah, that'll be a fun read there then.
And somehow Scarlet Witch is tied into it. I wish they had this cover at my comic book shop. They didn't have it. I picked up this one here, where you've got Scarlet Witch and this kind of like armor knight looking.
All those are going to be Bailey Underwood art too, I think, right? Yeah. You can tell it's her.
This covers Annie
yeah,
Wu.
Annie Wu.
Yeah, I really like the Annie Wu. It's got this like shattered glass look with Scarlet Witch in there.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, I wish they had that. I might have to pick that up still. So yeah, really excited to read that one. I have not gotten a chance to read that either. I just picked it up the other day, but it'll be fun. Okay, we made it to the last comic. World of Revelation 1. This is another Age of Revelation tie-in, if you couldn't tell by the name. We do have some variant covers going on here. This one's kind of neat, this World of Revelation here. I think that's Apocalypse. Just a nice clean cover, clean background. But yeah, if you're into X-Men and you're into this Age of Revelation, you've got a lot of reading to do, let me tell you. Because they have like 6 different books going on right now at the same time that all tie in with one another. So good luck. I'm not diving into it. But if you are, Godspeed. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Perna Studios set. I tend to talk about this pretty much every week, honestly, for the past month or two, because they keep giving us these amazing reveals. We do have some more art announced. I don't know if the set is sold out yet. They haven't posted that it is, so you may be able to pick up sets if you are interested of Halloween 6, Alone in the Dark. If you're not familiar, Perna Studios, Tony and Elaine Perna, both incredible artists, have both worked on Marvel, and they get a lot of artists on these sets that they release. And these artists may be some of your favorite artists, where you can buy a $40 pack, guaranteed a sketch card that you may hit. So yeah, it's just fun. I really enjoy these sets. We've got Lauren Bobbitt here with some great art. They also put out Rico De La Rosa, some really cool stuff there. I really like this. I don't know what it is. This like zombie witch hiding behind a tree.
Yeah, that's good art there for a sketch card for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the sketch card, the details you get, man, for the price especially that you pay, you just can't beat it. So I think those are the only 2 new reveals since last week, but I would not wait. I know there is a slight shipping delay due to the strike going on with Canada Post, but they will get them out, obviously, as soon as they can. I picked up 4 sets for myself, and I'm going to be giving some away on the show once they come in, so that'll be fun. All right, and then last piece of news is OAX, Original Art Expo. This is the other reoccurring theme here on the news part of our show. If you're not familiar with OAX, it is an expo that's happening in Florida. This is the third one that they're putting on. It's an annual event, and it's exactly what it is, original art. You get to see all of your favorite comic art, card artist, illustration, all kinds of different things. But what they announced is now a partnership with the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center, where they will be doing the Jack and Roz Kirby Awards at OAX. This is going to be so fun. I don't know what all this will entail, but this is huge, I would imagine, for
Yeah,
cosplaying at OAX.
I read this article and I didn't really quite understand like what the like what
It's a
exactly
little
the
nebulous,
criteria
right?
was.
Like it's a little
Yeah,
vague.
yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, anything that has Jack Kirby's name tied to it is going to be of some significant importance, right? You know, so it'll just be interesting to see like what exactly they're awarding for, or you know that was kind of like what I was like looking to understand was like what is the award ceremony like supposed to
Right.
be delegated to, you know? But I mean,
I'm assuming we'll find out more too as time goes on and it gets closer. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll all be a surprise. But either way, it'll be fun. I'm excited to see what they do with it. And just
yeah,
for
maybe
the
they'll give
event
it
in
to
general.
Across the Marvelverse for their
Hey,
continued.
hey, let's go. Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. That would never happen though. Also, I like to just go over some of the commissions that are available on the show if you are going. Definitely would encourage you to check these out, see if there's any that you are interested in. Bianchi still has some commissions available, still hanging on. I believe it's just the pencil sketches. So if you are interested in that, I think he still has some spots there. Sean Crystal, Ink Pulp, he's a great artist. He has commissions available of these unique paintings he's doing. We talked about them some last week. Aranga and Demio are almost gone. I actually did have the opportunity to pick up commissions from both of them. So really excited for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see that Demio sketch card you got for sure.
It's going to be awesome. Demio was high on my list to try and get because he worked on one of the covers for the recent Scarlet Witch and Vision
Yeah.
series. So that's big for me. If there's a artist important to my character, I like to try and get some art from them. That'll be fun. Perna still has some spots left as well, so that's fun. You can pick up some things from him. Roy Mercado has crazy low rates starting. I think it's only $75, and
Yeah.
you would be getting original art from a real Marvel comic book artist. That's just kind of, I don't know. It was a no-brainer for me. I picked up one from him.
Yeah, yeah. It's always a great opportunity for some of these artists that are like from the areas that where they live into, because right, because the U.S. dollar goes so much further, you know, in the
Yep.
Philippines, right? So like, that's where you're hitting some of the price points, you know, for like Von Randall, Mercado, stuff like that. People that are like in the Philippines, you know, our dollar goes a whole lot further over there for them. So you know, it makes sense as to why they try to like you know do as much work with you know with us for affordable price points over here. So
Yeah, that's a great point. And even Bart Sears. Bart Sears, he had an entry point of only $50.
yeah,
So
that one was an outlier to me. That one was a little bit surprising.
yeah, that blew my mind. I was like, whoa. So I put in a request. I haven't heard back. I'm assuming a lot of people try to jump on it. So we'll see if
Yeah.
I get in. Yuko, I love his artwork.
Yeah, same, dude. I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna wrap up my commissions list there, and it very well may be
I
an
keep
11 by
looking.
17 there, dude. Yeah,
He's one of the ones I keep looking at. Him and Bianchi, I keep looking. I'm like, I'd really like one.
yeah.
But I
I
already
do have
have a couple Yuko pieces, so I'm like, I might wait this time. But he's so good.
Yeah, yeah. He's super how do I say this? There's no one else out there that's doing anything like what he does, in my opinion, on the level that he does it. You know, like if you see something from him, like you know, a full painted piece or whatever, you can kind of almost identify immediately that it's him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think whenever artists have the ability to have that sort of impact, you know, Liddy Lee, for example, whenever it comes to sketch cards like that, you know, you see one of her cards, you know, it's her immediately. You know, I think whenever you start getting into that realm, man, you've really, really made a mark. So,
I
and he does, and
100%
God,
agree.
dude, he does vehicles, dude, and motorcycles and cars and stuff so damn good, dude. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just great stuff. I mean, it's
yeah,
just beautiful.
yeah,
Also, weird thing to say, I guess, but I love his signature and like how he places it on his art. It just always looks
yeah,
so clean to me, and he ties it in. Like right here, it just looks
yeah,
so
yeah,
cool to
yeah.
me.
Yeah. For the way he does watercolors and stuff like that, it is so polished, man. It's
Yeah,
so polished, you know. I don't see anybody else like really doing stuff like this on this level.
yeah, me either. So cool stuff. So yeah, if you are on the fence about OAX, I'd of course encourage you to go if you have the means. It's going to be a fun time. A lot of us will be there. Ryan, you're going to be there, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm stoked to be going this year. I was gonna go last year, then the Joe Jusko 2016s popped up there, and then I, indulged in that. So then I did not really have the. It would have been financially irresponsible to go last year, so I just decided to make sure that this should be a big thing. And I've put in a lot. Like I'm gonna have like a lot of commissions there for this thing. Eric Grove. I'm a huge Eric Grove stan. Like I'm probably as I may as well change my title to Eric Grove Super Collector on Instagram. I love Eric Grove stuff, dude. I think he has like a grit and a texturing to his art that just nobody really else does. I mean, David Finch does to some degree whenever he's painting and stuff too. I just love Eric's artwork. I got nothing but great things to say about him. I love the sketch cards he did, man. They have like a little bit, they have like a little bit of like Nar callback to him, in my opinion, just with the grit that's in there. And I think he's a super slept on artist, dude. I think Eric Grove's going to be huge. You can see that actually, that Colleen Wing and Juggernaut up there in the top left is actually mine. I don't know if this is an HD
No
scan
kidding.
of it or not, but yeah, I own that. That's in my house downstairs. Yeah, it's not the best scan of it, but man, just the quality of work there. There's just like some texturing there where even like Juggernaut's helmet looks like you could rub your hand across of it and you could feel it. And that's what I like about that art style and that artwork, man. So I'm getting a commission just like that, full size painting. It'll be Misty and Iron Fist this year, so that'll be really
Oh
cool to see.
wow.
So I'm gonna
Oh
have them like
man.
with like I'll have the paintings like paired beside each other. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing what Eric does with that for sure. So
Well, hey man, speaking of things that we're gonna be getting, let's get into some new pickups.
yeah.
Today's focus.
Oh no, I clicked the wrong button. Let's try again.
The Collector's Hall.
There we go. Got ahead of myself. Cool. Ryan, have you had any new pickups or things recently you wanted to share?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got some heavy hitters here.
Oh God. Every time I do this, I'm like, yeah, man, I got some cool stuff. And then my guest comes on is like, I have this. It just
Yeah,
blows me
these
away.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. These are gonna be tough to beat. But yeah.
I
So
already
I
know I'm not beating
recently
him. I don't even need to see it. So
Okay. So I'll try to get this in the shot here. I've been working on my OA collection here with the card
Oh
stuff.
my
So,
gosh,
there was an oppor I hope
dude.
that's not. I hope that's not. I'm trying to get. There we go. Maybe we'll do it like
That
that. Give
looks,
it a
yeah,
little
there
bit.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Had an
Bro.
opportunity to go after this one.
Okay, explain what this is to those listening and those who may
Yeah.
not
So
know.
this is the Marvel Masterpieces 2022 Dan Dos Santos original art for the Juggernaut card. It's interesting, man. Like a while back, I did a video with Fausto whenever things were wrapping up with Upper Deck, and I threw out there into the universe that one thing that I thought would be awesome to do to try to take to kind of push my collection even further would be to collect all the modern Marvel Masterpieces artwork. Starting from 2016 on for Juggernaut, and I got Grego's. I had the 2016 Jusko. And then this just happened to fall into my lap essentially, and had an opportunity to go for it, and law of attraction, man,
Wow.
and it worked out. So now I will have Jusko 2016. Bianchi did not do a Juggernaut in 2018. Then we have Palumbo's 2020, which I am slowly trying to do some detective private investigating work on that one. Now have After that we have Dan, and then Nawel's. So I have the three though so far. If I can ever get Dave's, that would be like that would be it wouldn't be a triple crown because there'd be four paintings, but it would be the complete set of the Juggernaut artwork for
Wow.
the Modern Masterpieces set. So Dan actually framed this. He's the one that had this framed like this and sent to the first original buyer. Dan is an amazing artist. I don't know about this matte work or this frame, but I will take care of that. I'm gonna have this. I was keeping this here until we did this podcast. I'm gonna send it over to my framer, and we're gonna do some stuff. I have some ideas. I'm gonna do like a really bold, ornate gold frame on it, I think, and I'm gonna change the outside matte color. I gotta figure out what color I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna make it look a little bit more regal, I guess you
Okay.
could say,
Okay.
and go with that. I'm pretty particular about the way I do my. If you've seen if you've seen the other artworks, well, I mean, actually, you'll see them later on in this if you're watching this. I'm very particular about the way I do my framework and stuff. So I spend a lot of time and and thought on it, and I try to like make that be shown whenever someone's displaying the piece, or whenever I'm displaying the piece, someone else is viewing it, I should say. So, but yeah, super stoked to have this one. Another one to mark off that list. If I do ever have the opportunity to like complete that, it would be really sweet. We don't know if we're ever going to have any more Marvel masterpieces. I'm assuming at some point in time we will, but it probably will be at a license change point, and who knows, that could be 10 plus years, or
Sure.
something like that. So yeah, super glad to have gotten that. Dan is a, incredible artist. His body of work he did on that set is just absolutely insane. So it'll be
Man,
cool to, have like a published Dan piece,
that's
for the
amazing,
collection
dude.
and stuff. So.
That's really amazing. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, man.
That's
Thank you.
massive.
Thank you. Yeah, that one is definitely something that I was a little disappointed that I missed out on. The first time around. So, but glad it found its rightful home in the end.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and then this next thing I'm going to show here is this is like man, I can't even express how happy I am to have this. This one I'm going to give a little bit of backstory after I show it. But this one was in the most recent Heritage Signature auction,
Oh
and
boy.
I don't really like dip my toes or plan to dip my toes into this market too much. I'm a cards first person, collector. I will always be that way. But there were kind of certain things that I said to myself, if the culmination of events create the perfect storm of a scenario for me to kind of dip into this world, then I would do that. And this page was exactly that. One of the things, just before I show it, was I wanted to get a Warner Roth Juggernaut page, which is a super challenging thing to do in its own right, because X-Men 12, the artist was Alex Toth, and then in the original run, which is the only things or the only books that Roth was the artist on, they go through like it's like 61 or something like that, the original run, before they start doing the reissues and then Giant Size X-Men later on. So there's really only 4 books Juggernaut's in, which that he did artwork for, which was X-Men 13, X-Men 32, X-Men 33, and then X-Men 46, and those are the only books Juggernaut's in. So then in all those books, there's only X amount of pages that Juggernaut's even in, and then like, for example, there might be like some of them where it's just one panel of him in the entire page. So there's limited. If we're looking at it like from like a numbered cards perspective, there's only a limited number of pages that would really be that intriguing to me, I guess I should say.
Sure.
And then, of course, whenever you dive into that a little bit further, it's like if you have other X-Men on those pages in those panels as well, the price point is going to be like astronomically insane, and stuff. So anyway, this is from, I'm going to try to do my best to give you the glare, no glare here. Um, just
Oh
carrying
my
on to that,
gosh.
same point that we were discussing there. This was like such a perfect storm of those things, of those kind of
Dude.
criteria that I was talking about, because there's no other X-Men in costume on the page. There's nothing that really, unless you're like, this is a perfect character collector page, I should say, right? It's
Yes.
Juggernaut mostly in all panels, putting his helmet on. I've got one full body shot. I've got one, like a good close up with the helmet on here, kind of checks a lot of the boxes, right? It's not a splash, right? But it's great historical significance. It's the third appearance of Juggernaut, whereas, X-Men 12, if you're familiar with the comics, there's only one panel at the very end where you actually see Juggernaut in X-Men 12, and then
Okay.
X-Men 13 would be the first full appearance. So you get a lot more shots of pages like this in X-Men 13, but this is really kind of like the second appearance, if you will, second full appearance, if you will. And unfortunately, because there's so many people in the original art world who are first appearance collectors, X-Men 13 pages would be, I mean, just the price point would be like, double
Massive.
or triple
Yeah.
this, you know what I mean? So where
Sure.
to where I would probably be priced out of something like that, right? So for me, that was like, this was such a good spot for me to dip into this world and just possibly never dip back into, you know what I mean? Get
Right.
in and out,
Yep.
and get kind of what I
Get your
wanted from it,
fix. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you get. I mean, this is just. I mean, it's fantastic work,
It's
man.
perfect, dude.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, exactly. And to take it a step further, right? This of all the stuff I said is like super cool, in its own right. But something that's like, makes it even more interesting is, so I mentioned earlier that my dad had like a modest collection of comics. He didn't have anything like expansive or anything. Probably had maybe like 25, 30 maybe it might have been a little bit more than that, but X-Men 32 and 33 were the only Juggernaut books he had. So that's actually the first comic book that I ever read was X-Men 32. I didn't know that,
Wow.
remember I was that young. I didn't have any exposure to understand that there was the books before it. I kind of put that together once I like understood what I was reading, I guess, because like there's like it kind of starts out where Professor X has Kane Marco like, and he had been like turned over to the police. So like you kind of get like a little bit of knowledge that there was something before it. But for me, this was my first exposure in the comics to the character.
No kidding. That is
Which is like
so cool.
super, it makes it like such a sentimental grail, I guess, if
Yeah.
that makes sense,
No,
is the best way to
100%.
say it. Teenage me is so like proud to have this now.
Dude,
Like
yes.
the people in the card world who know or are familiar with my collection, the theme that I have is for my APs is Juggernaut with the crown involved in the image in some way. And I also get that from this book. There's a moment or a line that he says after he defeats the X-Men in this book. There's like a really cool battle where the X-Men come back to the mansion and they find Juggernaut there, where he says that his crowning touch after defeating them would be to bury them in the rubble of the mansion the same way he got buried in the Temple of Sidorak after he touched the gem. And I took that as like something that was like, whenever I was trying to figure out what I wanted to add to my APs so that I could like there would be like some sort of signatures to them to show that it was from my collection. That is what I ended up coming up with, and that also comes from this book. So for
Wow.
me, it's just like there's so much tying into the way that I collect and the collector that I became, from this book alone. And so it's such the fact that a page from this book that had no other X-Men on it really, that was gonna probably fall into a price point where I could make it happen. For all of those things to come together like this is just it's so surreal to be sitting here like even right now talking about it and looking at it thinking that like somehow all that like fell into place for me, and it's such a, like I said, it's such a surreal feeling to be able to be like, wow, man, like that really, like I'm gonna put this above my desk downstairs and just be able to look at this for the rest of my life and be like, gosh, dude. And every time I look at it,
I love
I'll
it.
be thinking about that, like the euphoria as far as the satisfaction that you get from collecting. Like this is such a, like I can't believe it's real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't believe that it actually happened. And again, I'm big into like, we could go on forever about law of attraction and like, all that sort of stuff. But I truly believe that like there's some people that I talk to in the OA side of stuff who I was kind of like starting to like ask the questions to the people that I felt would know to be able to give me the knowledge about like the way things would work. Like there's a Juggernaut collector, his name's Jason or whatever, that I had found through CAF, who has a lot of Juggernaut OA stuff, and he kind of gave me all this stuff. He's like, what you're going to be looking for then if you're just trying to like be a like a one and done or casual collector with this is no other X-Men on the page, blah 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 blah. And then sure enough, this page pops up like 3 months, when it was probably about 6 months later, and we were talking about it, and he was like, man, what are the odds of that? And I was like, yeah. So, yeah, super, super thankful, super grateful, man. Really, really cool to have that. I cannot, like, I still cannot believe that happened. So,
That's amazing, dude. And this is your first piece of original comic book art that you've picked up
uh, for Juggernaut,
for
that's
Juggernaut.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
for Juggernaut, that's correct. And it's tough too because like if I'm gonna go into the OA, like the OA side of stuff, like you have people that sort of maybe character collect to some degree, like we do in cards, but most of the time they're a bit more dispersed, or they collect a certain artist, or they collect series, things like that. Whereas like I never really wanted to get like if I'm only ever gonna get maybe like 5 pieces of Juggernaut OA probably, because there's only like so many books that I find extremely significant to me as a collector, and those are kind of the ones that I would want to go for. I mean, God, if I ever could get a shot at an X-Men 13 page, like that would be incredible, right? Like that would probably be like the absolute top end that you could do as far as
Yeah. Yeah.
historical significance, which is what's important to me, right? Like you have other artists that did Juggernaut, Todd McFarlane, you have, I'm trying to think of like Greg LaRock, who's not really quite on the same. I'm trying to think of like who else, John Romita Jr. Like there's artists, that big artists that did Juggernaut in various different books that would command a higher price point. There's like, for example, there's an X-Force 3 page that's going to be in the upcoming Heritage auction. I'm really interested to see where that ends up at. Rob Liefeld, art on that. He's a more popular artist than Roth is and stuff. But as far as historical significance, like that to me is like more interesting to me as a character collector. But yeah, that's the first piece of OA, and that was at the top of my list. Warner Roth Juggernaut art.
It's
X-Men
perfect, dude.
13 would have been yeah, X-Men 13 would have been like the like absolute like, the pinnacle or the top end of that, but like having that for it being as sentimental to me as it is, I will always be fulfilled even if I never get another OA page for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like that was like as good as it was gonna such a perfect scenario for me, you know? So
Yeah. And there's just something about, I mean, like, think about that, dude. Like, this book that you first read as a kid, right? Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is literally what made that, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
piece of the production of that. That's just
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Like, the
yeah.
original art from that book.
It's a fundamental part of who I became as a collector, and now I'm able to own a part of that piece of history, not only for the book and the character, but for myself as well. It's such a chef's
Yeah.
kiss kind of
I
thing,
mean,
you
like,
know?
you just, like, you have to stop and think about that because I feel like sometimes, like, when I first found out you could get original art and like production used art, whether it's in like
Yeah,
comics, cards, anime, whatever, it blew my mind, right? And now that I've really dove into the world and I did a lot of the same things that you said, like, I started talking to people, like, okay, well, this guy collects a lot. Like, how do you do that? What do you find? Why is this valuable? And
yeah,
you start learning about it. And then you dive into this world and you start going on these websites, right? And they've got all this art. And you start to normalize it a little bit more, right? Because you start seeing it all the time and you start
yeah, yeah,
chasing things. You might pick up a few, but like, I just have to take a step back and be like, dude, this made the show. This made that comic book. This made that card. It's
yeah.
just, it's so wild to think about. Never would I have ever thought as a collector I'd get to that point. And then here we are. And here you are. I mean, that's just an amazing accomplishment, bro. Congrats.
Yeah, man, it's like whenever I opened it up and everything, it's signed on the back, Warner Roth, 1967, dude. Like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, any other bombs you want to drop here before?
Um, yeah, well, I got one. This one's not quite as much of a bomb.
Okay, cool. Give
One of the
me a
things
chance at least.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. So one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show here is like what's next, right? We're
Yeah.
getting to a place now where we could have a whole other show about the things that are going on with Tops. I'm talking about that. And for me, I'm not really like seeing anything yet that is making me want to dip my toes into that. In any way, I'm not going to sit here and like just trash it, but I could. There's certain things that have started to happen that are pushing me even further away. I guess we'll say one of those things. I'll just kind of throw one interjected jab in here is that their recent releases they didn't even put out official sketch card checklists. So no idea if the card that you're buying off of eBay or from a third, or a secondary market
Sure.
is even official.
Right.
No way to reference that.
No. The
So there's
only
things that
way
are
you can is to look up that artist and ask them directly.
correct.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's like I don't know. Just anyway, I'm not going to go too far into that. So I've decided to do some backlogging. Trying to change and shift. Like for Juggernaut and Colleen specifically, there is very limited stuff that I would need to still get out there. Obviously, if it pops up and stuff like that, that would be great. But I'm in a place now where I'm only missing a couple cards for both those characters. So I was trying to
That's a
figure out.
crazy statement to say.
Oh, dude, I mean, like, once I like actually get the card display part done for everything for my collection, it's gonna be fucking wild to share that because it's literally. I mean, you're gonna be able to see like the amount of holes that I've got because I'm gonna have all of them in the display in chronological order. I mean, the only things that I'm really missing now for Juggernaut are the Marvel Masterpieces 92 Platinum Green PMG, which is weird because I have the gold one of one PMG. I can't find the green one.
So
And
funny how
then
that works sometimes.
yeah, crazy. And then a 19. This will be the hardest card to find. It'll be the 97 QFX autograph, which were numbered to 35. And those are pretty much the two big ones I
Wow.
have left. The rest I've got, I'm just worrying. I'm just like getting them graded. I'm getting a couple copies of them because I like the first one I got. Like whenever it got to me, it turned out it didn't look that good, etc. We'll get into all that though whenever we start talking about how I collect. But the other
Sure.
thing that I got, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start. I mean, it makes sense, right? Misty Knight, she's part of the Daughters of the Dragon. She's Colleen's, counterpart.
Yep.
I basically already PC her. I just didn't really dive too much into it. So I worked out a big trade with Hap, Matt Wiseman to do like a large three-way trade. I had some big X-Men metal, purple one of ones since I went pretty crazy on that set from a while ago. And then basically we just did like a three-way trade for a big package. I got like a bunch of Misty stuff. Matt Wiseman had a bunch of stuff. I traded one of the one-on-ones to Hap for a Doom one-on-one, and then I sent him the Doom one-on-one, and then he gave me a bunch of Misty stuff, including this is her 2014 premiere one-of-one card. I don't know if you could see that in
Wow.
the I got like a I got a Freddy and Misty sketch. I got like a bunch of super high end stuff, like a really good Misty starter pack, like 3 or 4 out of 10 cards, the Silver Spectrum autos from 2018. And that's I'm just gonna start like kind of like doing like an additional PC of her character as well because it makes sense. It fits the way that I collect. I would basically was already PCing her to begin with OA stuff because
Yeah,
she's on
yeah,
everything that Colleen's in.
right.
So just to keep it going, to keep myself scratching the itch, and
There's always something, man. There's
right. So I'm just gonna start backlogging that. So I'm just gonna start like back collecting that stuff as opposed to like moving forward with anything. So
That's cool. That's cool. And that's a really unique way to pivot too from someone like you who's more of like a veteran collector, right? That's been around for a long time
yeah,
because like for me, I share similar sentiments to you as Tops. I'm not completely opposed to it. I picked up a couple cards, but nothing crazy.
yeah,
But for me, it's just given me time to really focus in on all the sets that I missed out on since I'm still
right,
newer
yeah,
to
yeah.
the Marvel game. But for a lot of people, I think they're in similar shoes as you where they're almost feeling like defeated, right? And like,
Yeah,
well, it's
yeah,
done.
yeah. People, I mean, you could, dude. There's so many things, dude. Like I've been reading into that a lot as well. Like there's a video that it was, I want to, you did a video with Matt, right? I
Yep.
can't remember if it was your video or if it was a different one that he had done,
Okay.
but there was like this moment where you're seeing Fuller, who is like the OG of OGs in our space, right?
Yeah.
Where you can see him like almost like in pain about trying to figure out what he's gonna do now, right? Like
Hmm.
for all of us that have been doing this for a long time, it was like, all right, new sets coming out this date, we're getting what we need from that, moving on, going to the next one, moving on, going to the next one. And now it's like to fill that void, it's like we're all like craving and trying to find something that's going to satisfy that
Yeah.
for us in the same way. And
Yeah.
it's
How
hard,
do you
dude.
pivot?
Like Tops is just like, and they're making it harder for us to be like buy into this because I don't want to be putting together my own sketch card checklist for every set that comes out. Like that's like
That's
taking a lot
insane.
of the joy out of it.
And you'll never know if it's 100% accurate. Like there's no
Yeah,
way to
exactly.
ever
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That's
correct.
impossible.
Yeah.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Did you have other ones you wanted to show?
No,
Is
that's
that
it. No,
okay?
no,
All right.
no.
All right. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, no.
Sorry.
I didn't know if you had a couple more 101s in the back pocket.
No, just got a just fully life size bus model I have.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, I got some stuff to show off. Nothing nearly as cool as that, but that was some amazing stuff, bro. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. That was really fun to look at. My first pickup I'm wearing. I got this move off to the side here. Got
Okay.
a
Okay.
Silver Surfer Kith shirt. It was my wife and I's 3rd anniversary this week, and she got me this as an anniversary present. So I was like blown away. I was like, "What? These are so."
They do some good stuff with those. They actually did a X-Men 46 cover on a Kith shirt as well. It's got
Yep,
Juggernaut. Like it's cool. It's a cool one.
I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yeah, it's funny, that was actually one of the shirts, another shirt from that collab that I wanted. I wanted so many of them. I'm also
Yeah.
a big Kith fan, so I have like a lot of Kith stuff. So when they said Marvel, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, really excited to have this shirt. So that's my first big pickup. Thank you to my wife; she's wonderful. I picked up the Secret Lair drop. They came in this week, so I'll just show these 2 cards real quick. We got the Daily Bugle and the raised, I forget what they call it, like the raised foil symbiote mana set. Really cool. I actually really prefer the Daily Bugle cards. I genuinely think these may be my favorite cards that they did for the Magic set. And the reason is with TCGs, right? And I've said this before, but I'll just say it again since now I actually have the card in hand. A lot of times the text can be really off-putting just because it interferes with the art. And they did it perfectly, right? Like the text just looks like it's part of the newspaper article. I was like, it's just so smart to me. I had to pick up that set, so that will stay in the binder. If you want to see all of the mana symbiotes, so they're amazing looking. I'm trying to get a good shot here. It's hard with the lights, but I have really good high quality pictures that I put up on my Instagram. So if you are interested in them, you can see them. They're fantastic. If you're a Venom fan, I would be shocked if you did not want to pick those up. They're really good. I did pick up a comic cut. This is Avengers 185. So this will be going in the comic book, or the comic cut binder rather. I have a few other cuts from this issue, so this will actually tie in perfectly with some of the other ones that I have. So really excited to have that Scarlet Witch panel there. And I got one that's a little bit older, Avengers 23 comic cut. And actually, let me turn it sideways here. So just a cool little shot. And I like that the coloring's a little different than what you normally see. You've got this kind of like monotone look with yellows and oranges in there. And it's got both Quicksilver and Scarlet on the same panel. And I don't know that I have any from 23. So this might be the first from that book that I got. But that'll go in the binder too. This is my biggest pickup. So I did get a commission in. Dave Lynch.
Uh-oh.
Yep, I did. I had a little something. Nothing close to it yet, but a little something. No, Dave Lynch on Instagram, he had posted that he had a few APs still left over from his Upper Deck days, and one of them was WandaVision stock, and I was like, I got to do it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to behave with OEX, but I was like, all right, we'll break the rules for this one. So picked up this commission from Dave Lynch. It's got Vision and Wanda on it. He just crushed it, man. I was super, super happy with this.
It's a unique style. I have an X-Men metal Juggernaut card from him.
Do you really? Okay.
He does good. He does like good I'm not really artistic, but like color blending, I guess is the right way to say it. Like those greens, like the way the green, the darker, and then there's the lighter shades of green. I always notice that his like the gradient of the way that the tone changes between like similar colors. He does a really good job with that.
Yeah, his art's very identifiable as well.
Yeah,
you can tell that it's Dave Lynch too. So really really excited. Thank you to Dave. He was really easy and nice to work with, and really quick as well. So all around was a really good experience. This one. I think what I'm going to do in my sketch card, I still cannot figure out how I want to set up my sketch card binder, but I'm probably just going to do a page of all APs. So this will definitely be on that.
Yeah,
page.
I do like a full AP page at the very beginning of my binder as well. That's where I put them before the actual like pack pull sketches, and I just do the rest of them in chronological order.
Okay.
By the set release.
It's so hard because it's like you can do it by artist, you could do it by like how the art looks, you could do it by like this like chronological by release. There's just and my brain wants all of them to all work perfectly, and that's just impossible. So
right. I like the card stocks like that are the same, like being beside each other in the binder. Like,
see, I know that looks really nice.
Yeah,
I agree with you. But then it makes me mad because like I've got one where I've got two Yukos that I really like how they look together, but I can't do it in chronological order if I keep them together. So I'm like,
oh yeah, okay, I see. That's probably if I had like 10 sketches from an artist, that would make sense.
So we'll see. Not Marvel, but I figured I'd show this. I picked up the Mewtwo promo card from the first movie way back when. I think this is from 1999, maybe 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there. So the Mewtwo voice actor is coming to a local card show here in a few weeks, and he's doing free autos. And I have actually a pretty big auto collection where I get voice actors to sign cards of characters that they voiced. And Pokemon was...
You binder those as well?
No, so I'm going to end up displaying them. I want to slab them all. My issue is the majority of voice actors, grading companies will not grade those autos because they're so unknown. Some of them are like niche. So small, very niche. So I think I might just have a friend slab them for me who does his own little like grading thing on the side. And he does really good with labels and stuff. So I think when I'm ready, I'm going to be like, hey, how much would you charge for me to give you like 1 million cards to do all at the same time? And then I'll probably, my dad's he does a lot with woodworking, and I go over there. His whole garage is like a little wood shop that's set up, and he's got the CNC machine in there. I think what I'll probably do is make like a display to hang up and display them all. It'll be a pretty massive display, so I haven't figured that out. But
I am the massive display guy, so I can give you any insight I can on that. So yeah.
No, I really do need to talk to you then, because I've been going through my mind on how I want to set up different displays and things, and it's probably going to be for our next house because this house is about tapped for space. But eventually we're going to move.
I'm getting close to what I'm allotted in this house here as well. So.
Yeah. Like, why do you want to move? More space for cards and art. Like, you know.
Well, we have a pretty big house here. I just like I've taken over certain spaces, and my fiance is at a point where she's like, if you put one more thing on this wall, I'm gonna burn this house down. So
that's too funny. She wakes up, she sees like 3 new Juggernaut pieces, just like
in the bedroom as well, like in our bedroom, just right there on the.
You're out of space on the wall, so they're just like literally hoist it from the ceiling. So she just opens her eyes. Juggernaut's right there.
There would be no more Juggernaut collector here.
Last pickups, Comic Hut. I picked up Infinity War 3. Got this. I'm so sorry I forget your name, but someone in the Facebook groups kindly worked out a deal with me for this. Just a really clean image of Scarlet from Infinity War. So excited to have that. But that's all my pickups. That's everything I had. So enough of me. Let's jump into more about your collection.
Today's focus.
Okay, so Ryan, I want to know more before we dive into the specifics of like how, like, I guess the like your criteria, and I think we already have gotten a good bit of what's in your collection, but we certainly haven't got to the nitty gritty yet. I want to hear a little bit more about your collector story, man. Like, what really drove you to getting to this point of amassing this crazy collection?
It's a good question. I am always a little bit kind of hesitant to talk about this, so I want to like kind of give a little disclaimer to start with. I
Sure.
hope that when we start diving into this stuff, nothing that I say comes across as like arrogant or conceited or condescending in any way. The way that I collect is very extreme. It's a lot different than other people that you've had on here and stuff like that. And I don't want people to think that because I do things the way that I do them, I think that what I'm doing is the right way to collect or that it's superior to the way anybody else collects in any sort of a way. I unfortunately just have a brain chemistry that says things need to be done this way for me to get what I need from it from the collecting experience. So whenever we start going into this, people are probably going to be like, "Oh, wow, holy shit," But I don't want anybody to think, I have respect for any collector of any financial bracket, of any level of interest in this that is willing to dip their toes into this hobby and enjoy it in any capacity. So I don't condone what I'm doing. I don't think anybody should try to follow the model of the way that I do things. It is reckless. It's financially irresponsible, if you want to call it that, to some degree. I just am blessed and fortunate enough to be in a spot where I can do this way comfortably for myself and make it happen. And I think that also Juggernaut is in a tier where that also makes it possible, right? There's not a ton of competition. It's not a Wolverine. He's not a Spider-Man.
Sure.
He's not a Gwen. He's not,
Right.
one of these A-listers where you've got, tons more competition coming in on this stuff. So, with that said, I collect every single card, including one of ones. If there are multiple one of ones on a set, I go for at least one of them. Kind of that same way that some people approach plates. I do go for plates in the same manner. Plates take a little bit less of priority to me than the cards itself. Like
Okay.
plates are just like a little bit of an added bonus.
Nice
Like
to
I
have.
value, I yeah, I if I can get one, and for most sets I do have at least one, whatever. I don't put as much priority on plates. Like for example, if a plate was up and a one of one was up on eBay, I wouldn't prioritize the one of one like 100% of the time. So that's of fives out of 10. And I have for my Juggernaut collection, the first sticker card was in 1987, and I've concluded that at the end of the run of Upper Deck with the last set actually Juggernaut was in was that Upper Deck Spider-Man one that was very similar to the Avengers and then the Women of Marvel kind of
Yes.
setups that they had. There's a Juggernaut versus Spider-Man battle time in there. So I don't have that one of one yet, I guess I should say, but I have all the rest, everything, the Gold 33, all the way down through all the other
Wow.
parallels. But and so and now I'm in a place where I have just only a couple cards left to even find to have like the complete catalog of 1987 all the way to the end of Upper Deck. There, every parallel, one plate in most cases, one of one from every set moving forward since Marvel Masterpieces 2020. And then to add another layer of that to that is I also grade everything. The way that I envision my collection at the end will be in giant displays lining the walls of my house in the designated areas where I'm allowed to do that. Um, and it will be the entire collection, 1987 all the way to the end of Upper Deck, graded in the highest grades as possible as I can for the cards. So, that
Wow.
means that I'm picking up multiple copies of many cards. I'm spending a lot of money on grading as well. It's definitely an added layer that's for a lot of people unnecessary, but for me that's I've always had like a bit of a asphyxiation on like kind of higher end or like top end versions of things, even outside of cards and stuff. Like I like really nice watches. I like really nice art that's unrelated to comic art, and so I've always had this, weird asphyxiation with like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to want it to be like as like top end as I can make it. And so therefore that's what my brain wanted this to be for collecting as well.
That is so crazy to think about. So for every single set, so I want to ask you this before I dive into what I really want to ask you while it's on my mind. So with one of ones, that's something for me. I'm similar in my mindset. I have a different approach where my approach is I want a representation of every card. So I don't need to have the full rainbow. The art
Yeah.
is what means more to me. So I want just a representation of each art. And then if there's one that I really enjoy, then I try to take the rainbow as far as I can. But for me, my fear is that a one of one will never pop. It'll be lost in a pack. I'll never see it. So are there any one of ones that like you've never seen that you're worried you'll never get? And like how does that impact your goals?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me say this too, as far as that goes. I think that the way that you described that, and then other guests you've had on here who have like similar approaches to like what they specifically do, are so much better than what I do as well. Right? It's so much healthier. It's so much less stressful. Right? Because I do go through those motions of what you're talking about, where like, all right, am I going to have the shot at this one of one, or I should say, that's how I thought about it during whenever the sets were still being released. Now that we're at the end, or I've concluded like a chronological date, I did hit all those benchmarks. So now I don't like stress about that anymore, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
So like for example, to carry that into answering your question, 2015 was the first year Juggernaut had a one of one. He had a gold PMG in retro.
Okay.
There's during that era of time, there was a monopoly company that's called Alpha Cards Only on Instagram who was picking up like all of these like high tier Marvel cards like during the boom. Like they were paying like top dollar for this stuff. Just so happened to have picked that card up. This is like before I was on social media and stuff really public with my collection.
Okay.
I just learned about this in retrospect. I've offered them $5,000 for that card, and I got kind of like disregarded as far as a response goes. And I think that's like a super fair offer, probably more than they would get for it if it went to auction. It would be an amazing card to have, first year PMG gold one of one. I mean that's probably as top end as you could get
Yeah.
as far as um, and it doesn't eat away at me because or that one even though it should, but I tried, if that makes sense. I put my best effort, if you will, towards it. And I think that like because like what I think those guys may be holding out for is that they hope that those cards go to those prices that they like what we were seeing during the boom were again. And I just don't know if I mean maybe they do at some point, right? Maybe 25 years from now or something, those cards just skyrocket. But I don't think Juggernaut specifically will be one of those ones that, it's not going to be a
No.
Spider-Man green
No. No,
PMG,
no, no.
right? So that one is kind of, I think that in my mind it's kind of gone. I'm not really going to have there's some parts of me where I've like thought about following up, like sending like an additional like, if I say, "Oh, I'm bump my offer to $6,000 and see what they say or whatever." But there's a lot of stuff going on with them. Like they were part of that Pivot Collectibles lawsuit. I don't know if you heard anything about that, where like there
No.
was like an intern. It's a long story, but there was like an intern who had like stole a bunch of stuff off EPAC from them and then like sold them on like secondary market and stuff. So I
Oh
don't know. It's a
wow.
weird gray area where I don't really know what's going on with the company. They don't post on Instagram anymore and stuff like that. And I mean, if they were investing in Marvel cards, they got destroyed, if that's what
Especially at that
they're.
time.
Well, yeah, because they were buying at peak prices, and
Right.
then
Right.
they're unable to sell in a market now where there's any, so
Sure.
and then beyond that, 2018 Fleer Ultra X-Men was the next set that had Juggernaut one of ones in it, and we all know the story of Alan, Mr. Fuxum, who bought the entirety of the product essentially. So I have confirmed that he does have both the base and the PMG one of ones in his collection. He has, almost, from what I understand, almost the entire collection, almost the entire set of one of ones for the base cards, which is wild to think about. And for what he did, I like as a serious collector, as like a big boy collector, as Fausto calls it. I respect the hell out of what he did. A lot of people don't like it because they haven't like been able to like get certain cards they need and stuff like that. I had to dig to be able to get what I needed from that set. Like I had to dive deep, to be able to get access to like the purple out of 10 PMG, from that set and stuff like that. But like for his story and what he wanted to do, like I respect that a lot. So like I also like don't like I as a character collector, I'm like cool that he has those, if that makes sense too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I got
respect him and what he's done so much. But then after that, though, it's all me. 2020 Marvel Masterpieces, Dave Palumbo, Red Spectrum,
you.
got it.
Wow. So
X-Men
every other
Metal,
one.
yeah, X-Men Metal,
Holy
bang,
crap,
got one
dude.
of them. And carrying that from that point in time, from 2020 on, every single set there's been. I mean, the Dan Red Amber, got that. Noel Grego's gold one of one autograph, I've got that. Marvel Platinum, I got the autograph auto for that one as well. But every single set that's come, Fleer Ultra Wolverine, that's an interesting one because Fleer Ultra Wolverine, I have the gold Spectrum one of one, all four plates, the original art, all the prelims. I have like the rainbow of all rainbows for that one because I have literally everything in the product,
That's
which is
amazing.
crazy.
That is
You know,
crazy.
that one's a wild one. That one's like something that like it's like a fantasy dream that you could mark off the list. But I mean, the fact that two of those plates came through EPAC, two of them came from actual product being ripped open as well, is crazy. They just
Yeah.
made their way to me eventually. Gold Spectrum one of one as well. It's just that's another crazy. We could talk about that alone for 30 minutes, how that came together. But yeah, every single set since 2020 2020, I've been able to just keep up with getting one of the one-on-ones if they're multiple, if not the one of one. And then dating back going all the way back to the 2018 and 2015 are the only ones that I don't have. So
Wow, man, that is crazy. So, do you consider those ones you don't have and like I know you said like you're okay with it, but do you still like in your checklist, whether internally, externally, whatever, are they still a missing spot or are they
um,
written off?
whenever I do my display, I will not leave a spot for those.
Okay.
I won't. Just because I kind of have written them off in the sense that I hate to say that like that because I would love, especially the 2015, man. I think that one's more accessible. The ones that are in Alan's collection, they're not ever gonna leave that. So the 2015 is more realistic, but I'm just super happy I have the green PMG from that year. That alone is I've only ever seen one. So to have that is it's pretty. I'm like fulfilled, I guess, in that sense from that. So
Okay, I want to take it back though. Was this always your vision? Like when you
yeah,
started collecting? Like from
man,
day one?
so whenever I was like a kid, I would get packs of the cards and stuff like that, right? I wasn't collecting like seriously whenever I was like younger.
Okay.
Whenever my dad passed away, my dad died in a house fire. Actually, it was a really bad accident
Oh my
situation.
God.
Some of the stuff that didn't burn up, I found I had those old '90s the screw down slab cases. Have you ever
Yes.
seen those? You know what
Hmm.
I'm talking about?
Yep, I
I
have
had
some.
my Marvel Annual '95 Juggernaut card in there, and I had learned through Pokemon. So I was like 20. This is 2012, so I was 21, 22 years old at the time.
Okay.
Sent that off to PSA because I'd heard about PSA from Pokemon, and then that card came back as a 10, and I was like, oh shit, this is that naturally was like my. I was just gonna get it slabbed to just this is my childhood card, blah 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 blah. I want to
Yeah.
keep it sentimental, but then it came back as a 10, and that got the train rolling. That's what I was like, oh, this is cool. And so then I started basically just trying to get the '90s Juggernaut cards in PSA 10. That's how I started initially, right? And then I would I've always been somebody who's very into art ever since I was young, and I would go on to like forum websites and like look at art even outside of comic art. And then I like there was like a good. I basically like I got exposed to like NAR and like other people, whenever those sets were coming out, like on those old forum sites that Fuller and like Fausto and stuff talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Scoundrel and all this stuff. But I was like too young, didn't have any money to be able to like really tap into that. But I always like looked at it and I was like, oh, this shit's like hella cool. This shit's dope. And so like I knew who NAR was and all that stuff like before like I even started collecting, and I would like kind of like casually look in on what was going on in the Marvel card market, if that makes sense. I didn't have any money, I didn't really have the ability to like really get into it and stuff like that at that age, but I was kind of just watching it and just kind of seeing what was going on. All the while I was going to school, building up a career for myself, like going through the motions of all this stuff so that maybe one day down the line I could do this the way that I would want to do it, right? I couldn't allow myself to be like, I don't want to like, this is where we get into the whole, like, I don't want to like make it sound bad. I couldn't settle for like a binder. I couldn't collect the like or anything less than the way that I'm doing it for my brain to get what it needs from it, right? So for me, it always was going to have to be this way, and that's what took me so long to really dip my toes into it, if that makes sense, right? I needed to get to a place where I had the money to be able to go about it this way.
Yeah, that
And
makes
so like
perfect
for me,
sense.
I guess like deep down, if we're inceptioning myself, I probably did always know that this was the way that it was going to end up, and I just had to do the things I needed to, or set the things into place to be able to get to that point, to be able to do it that way. I always liked the idea of collecting. I always like knew that I wanted to have like this sort of stuff, like to fill my house and stuff like that. Like this is the stuff that interests me or that I had passion for. It just didn't come to fruition till like it didn't. Like I bought a couple boxes of Marvel Masterpieces 2020, just because Juggernaut had a base card in that. I probably would have bought 2016 if Juggernaut had a base card. He was only a Battle Spectra in that one. But X-Men Metal was where I was like, oh shit, yeah, we're doing this now. You know, I saw because like they have the Juggernaut High Series card is Warner Roth art, same artist who did this, and it's the title splash from X-Men 33 is the image they use, and I think that's the greatest Juggernaut image that's ever been made. Comics, outside of comics, whatever. That X-Men 33 title splash is just special, man. And to see that on a card, that was where I was like, oh shit, I'm getting this 101. That was what it was. And I hunted that. I mean, you may have seen it in Fausto's videos and stuff. Dude, I had to message a guy on blowout card forums to find that card because I knew that it was on ComC at one point in time. And then like through private messages, I like months later, I found that card from this guy. And then as soon as I got that, the train was gone. The train had left the station, dude. It was like I'm just going through everything now. I'm picking up like all this stuff or whatever. And then I had to backlog some of the some of it and everything. But then at that point I knew like it was gonna be what it is now. It just took the time to get there.
No, that's cool. It's funny too as I think about it. Like, there's a lot of parallels I can think of for me. Like when you were looking at those forums with no money, I was on the TCG player forums with no money, wanting to
Yeah,
play
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't, right? And then
Yeah.
when I finally had the means, this game called The Spoils I found out about, and I just went like nuts because I had the means to get into it, and I was traveling all over the country playing. And I still, in the closet right across from me, I have a master set of the entire game. So
Okay.
The Spoils is like similar to Magic. But every single set they ever produced, I have 4 of every card ever made. So if you wanted to build any deck in the game ever, you could go
Yeah.
into my closet and build the deck right now. And I played that game all the way until it died. And then the day it died, Dragon Ball Supercard game came out. And I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah.
massive Dragon Ball fan. And then I just carried that same mentality into Dragon Ball for years. And then I got to a point where it just wasn't feasible for me to keep playing competitively. So that's when I was like, well, I really love Marvel and the art, and there's so much more art in Marvel than I can
Yeah,
find in Dragon Ball. And then that kind of led me down this path. And thankfully, I met crazy people like you and Fausto, and I was like, oh, they get it. So it's funny. There's a lot of parallels that I see from the way you collect, and I'm kind of learning even as you're talking now. It's making sense, the things that you're saying. But diving more into your collection, I want to talk a little bit more about the criteria behind your collection. I know it's essentially, so from what it sounds like, at least, it's from the first card up until the very last upper deck set is
Yeah.
basically the card collection. Can you go into a little more detail of how that spans outside just set cards? And also, I'm assuming when you say every card, you mean every card, every rainbow, every serial numbered.
Oh yeah, every single
Yeah.
one, dude. I mean, I have like even like I'm pushing like 300 PSA 10s, of Juggernaut cards that I've got. Like
N-
I mean, I grade every single parallel, all of Marvel Platinum, all that. Like I've got all that to do still. All of
That was
92
300 alone.
masterpieces. Yeah, right. And like those two are like, yeah. So like I still got like I have like a lot of uphill work still to do as far
Yeah.
as keeping up with with the grading rounds and stuff like that. But like to know that the end is like done as far as the future sets go, it's made it so much more like I'm like in a sense of kind of relief or whatever. Like I can kind of like leisurely take my time with it and stuff now. But and be able to like do other pickups with like the original art that you saw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that so yeah, as far as the trading cards go, it's literally every card that you
Now,
can
what do you
imagine.
define a Juggernaut card though?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is it
I don't do
like
the whole
if
like
his
if he's
fingers in
on.
there?
No, I don't do that. I don't do cards that like aren't like him as the feature of the card. So
Okay.
if he's on like this, so there's like a Hulk card and he's like battling Hulk in the card, I'm not doing that. It's only Juggernaut and then his team up cards that he has with people as well. Like if it's Juggernaut and so, then I also do those.
But he has to be featured as like
Featured on the card,
the
yeah.
primary
So
character.
any card that is Juggernaut featured as the primary or like teamed up with somebody or whatever characters. I don't do ones where he just like makes an appearance on somebody else's card. Don't do that.
Okay.
Wasn't gonna do sketches at one point in time. As soon as I got access to a NAR, that all changed as well. Like it's one of those things where like if I'm gonna go into it, I want the like absolute peak of what I'm doing,
So
or
how do
it's
you
not gonna be
approach that?
worthwhile
How do
to me.
you like
Dude,
what are
it
your
found me, dude.
parameters?
Dude. That's one thing that's different about my collection too. Is that a lot of people don't really. Well, I mean, Fausto maybe does to some degree. I'm sure Matt Fuller probably does with Danny and stuff. Whenever you're as big as a character collector as we are, like stuff comes to you, dude. It doesn't really something that you have to track down and find. Like things like gradually make their way towards you. People find you, or somebody who knows you. Like that's the way. So I got hit up by a guy in the Facebook groups who said I got this old head on sketchcollectors.com who has a zombie Gnar from Marvel Masterpieces 2007. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, oh, dude, fuck yes, I would. Like I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. So that and that's what changed the tone for me as far as sketches go. There's a lot of great artists. There's a lot of great artists out there in the sketch. Eric Grove did great sketches. Ash Gonzalez does great sketches. Fred Ian is a beast, or are a beast, I should say. I guess Bella was great. There's all kinds of really great art. Nar is the goat though. Nar is the OG, like
That's your
Michael
guy.
Jordan, Michael Jordan of sketch cards, bro. Like he is. I mean, I almost think in some ways almost single-handedly made sketches as popular as they are. How revered he is and like how like much of a difference of effort he was putting in his early cards like that. There weren't a lot of people back then that were putting in that level of effort, right? You got like Cat Staggs was doing some good stuff. There's some like older like sketch card artists, but just Nar was just a touch above all that, man. And to be able to get one of his like original pack pulled cards that it just solidified, like if I want to get Ash Gonzalez, if I want to get Freddie and if I want to get Simone, if I want to get all these other people, like none of that stuff is going to have that importance to me unless I have the NAR. Just having the NAR is what made me feel justified in dipping my toes into the rest of the way. And I know that's a weird mentality or weird psychology to it,
No, I
but
get it. It makes
getting the
sense.
NAR was like, okay, I can backlog everybody else who's from here with that being the top and then work my way down.
No,
You know
I
what I
can
mean? As
relate
far as
because if I have a goal, but that goal has a piece in it that is impossible,
yeah,
but that
yeah,
piece will have to go in to complete that puzzle, then
right.
I don't want to start the puzzle.
Let's use this. Yeah, let's a purely periodic X-Men metal set, right?
Yep.
I pulled one recently, right? But
Okay.
it was an out of four, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It's a low tier character, but if you're somebody who's going to try to complete that set, you're going to want the one. They do it like a periodic table. I don't know if
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yep. I am.
so like Angel was the first one, and his card's a 3 of 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. Well, if you're going to do that set, you may as well be starting with that one, right? Because it's not going to be complete without that. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? It's the
Yep.
same. It's the same approach, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, and that's how the NAR was for me.
Okay.
And then once I got the NAR, it snowballed into like now I've got 400 sketches or something. I mean, I don't know.
Dude, I'm
I got a ton of
I'm
sketches.
so glad you said that though, because it when you're thinking about how you want to collect, right? And you're like setting up these different avenues, that can also really drive a newer collector to a place he wants to go now rather than diving into something where he's going to set himself up for failure.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah, I mean that was something that I had to like. I mean, I didn't really know anything about the sketch market, even whenever I like dipped into X-Men Metal and was doing the trading card stuff. Like the sketches, I like wasn't really paying attention to. I didn't really care about. Only thing that I knew was like I just knew NAR from like back in like the OG, like whenever like during my childhood years, whenever I was looking at online forums and stuff like that. I knew that NAR was like
Yeah.
the guy or whatever. Didn't know about Freddie and didn't know about all these like other great modern sketch card artists. Until I started like actually paying attention to it and like looking at it and stuff like that. That's why I'm backlogging APs now from people that are like big artists because
So
I
what's
wasn't
the
like
approach there? So I know like you said you got like a ton of sketch cards. What is your approach to collecting those?
I made a list of artists that after I really like started diving into it that I wanted cards from. That led to an expansion of I would like a Juggernaut sketch from every set that has different card stock.
Okay.
Which is tough because you get stuff like Daredevil or WandaVision, right? Like Juggernaut's not associated with that stuff at
Right, right,
all.
right.
There was a WandaVision Juggernaut on eBay that somebody beat me to by like 2 hours one time. Somebody sent it to me and it was already sold, and it was the only one I've ever seen. It was a Sugarito sketch. It was pretty good, but yeah, so like nowadays I've slowed down on the sketch collecting because I've hit all the people that I wanted to hit off that list now. Basically, I
Gotcha. So this was like an internal list that you just decided I like these
yeah,
artists. I want a
yeah.
representation of their art in my
Yeah,
collection.
and if I've got to get if we're doing an AP, then like if they haven't done pack pull Juggernaut, whatever, I'm gonna do an AP with them, have them do it that way. Which I've hit all that. The only one that like really sucks, dude, is you probably seen my post about it recently. Is Fred Ian was somebody who was gonna be very hard for me to be able to get a piece from. They did two Juggernaut sketch cards that were pack pulled. They did one with Colleen on it, and it was a combo card for Unbound. It never got pulled on EPAC, so that one probably is going to be in the auction that they hopefully have in the next 2 years. So I've got that's what's gonna make, and they don't do commissions, right? Fredian does not do AP commissions on their AP cards. They only did characters they wanted to do, sold them on the secondary market. That's the way their model always been. You can see it in their bio even to this day. We do not do sketch card commissions, which for someone like me who wants to get a personal piece for my PC from them is it's super frustrating, right? So in picking up Misty as the third PC kit that I'm gonna do, they did do
Ah,
Misty And I got one of the Fred Ian's pack pulled Misties through the deal that I did and stuff like that. So now I'll be able to say that that part is fulfilled as far as that part of the sketch collecting goes.
So it sounds like your sketch collection is separate from the Juggernaut collection in a way, where your sketch collection is more artist focused based on all the characters you collect, but you don't
Well,
have to have.
I mean, I have an extensive Colleen Wing card collection as well. I have every single one that's ever existed for her up to top.
No, I know. I mean, so let me rephrase. So, like, what I'm saying is, like, with the sketch cards, for you to check that box as your, like, the parameters that you set for yourself specifically for sketches, it just has to be one of the collectors that you collect
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
artist
yeah,
that did it.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's more artist. The list is like purely artist driven.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, so like I have this project that I have the same Royval super OP binders that all of us
Yeah,
use.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I had this vision that I wanted to. I like sketch card artists that paint. I like paintings too, right? Like a lot of my
Yes.
collection is even outside of comic art. I have a very extensive like collection of art that's painting based. That's in a specific genre. So people like Bianchi, people like Ash, people like Eric Grove, people, Joe Rubenstein does painted sketch cards too. There's so I've always I had this vision. And I had the 16 page binder, right, where I was doing Juggernaut and Colleen from every as a sample of all of these painted artists that I really enjoyed from the sets, right? For like as like an AP project that I was working on, right? Ash is in there, Eric's in there, Bianchi's in there now. I have Palumbo coming, at Miles Wool coming, and I'm gonna have like hopefully a full front, possibly a full back of just painted AP sketch cards. They're going to be paint based artists only. That was like a weird, like a sub part of the criteria that I went to as well. But yeah, if I have now the concept will be as long as it's part of I want to have a sample of every artist that was on my list for my AP or for my cards. Sorry, that is. So yeah, what you said was correct. The fact that I have Misty and Misty will be part of my PC, that will fulfill the Fred Ian since I won't ever be able to commission them. So
Got it.
sorry if that was I went a little bit off on it.
No, no, no. It's okay. It's okay. No, that's it's all good stuff, dude. I feel like I should be taking notes. I'm gonna have to like get one of those AI things that listens to your meeting. It gives you the
No, don't,
summary.
dude. Don't model what I'm doing, dude. Don't like you're yeah. What I
No,
do
but
is
there's
like
so many good
crazy.
ideas, right? Like, and I think that's the beauty of it. And like, I know you gave that disclaimer at the front. And no one I bring on this show, I want to say, hey, this is how you collect,
Yeah,
right? What I want to say is, hey, here's how ideas of what you can do. So,
yeah,
what I hope listeners get, and what I also get from talking to people like you, is I get ideas and I'm like, oh, that's so neat. And then it allows you to enhance your collection, right? Like, I'm always thinking, like, okay, I'm happy with the goals and criteria I have, but I know there's more stuff out there that I can go after or chase. So,
right.
these conversations, that's how I learn. Like, I really need to think more about how I'm chasing my sketch cards. Like, that is something that's always on my mind. So that's why I was really interested to hear how you do it. And I'm going to steal some of those things that you do. Like, and I've heard of other people doing this as well, but like that crown with Juggernaut,
Yeah.
that's so genius. Like having this, it's almost like your mark on the card, so you know it's part of
Yeah.
your collection.
Well, I
I'm
mean, like
like, man, I should be doing that too.
here's like just to bring it around full circle as far as that goes, and we can move on to the next thing
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
I'm a person who goes back and looks at sketchcollector.com right now, and I was an active part of that community whenever that website was big and booming and stuff like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
people like Matt Fuller, people like F Booth were like big peoples in that active in the times before that, right? Whereas there will probably be collectors in the future that are looking back on collections like yours or mine via Instagram, via whatever, and I think it's cool that, my kids, for example, in the future, or just other collectors down the line can see something pop up on eBay and be like, dude, that was from that Juggernaut collector's collection, dude. The, and then maybe somebody who gets an idea that they want to collect stuff that was from my collection, right? And you can
Yep.
carry the collection moving forward that way, right? And I think that's what's so cool about having like something that kind of like is just signature of your own collection with your APs or things that you commission, because down the line people will be able to associate that with your stuff.
Yeah.
So
No, 100%, dude. That's beautifully said. I love the way you think about that. And it's kind of like that meme from The Office where Andy's like, he says something like, you don't realize that you're in the good
oh
times
yeah,
until
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're
yeah,
in
yeah.
this moment right now, And I mean, I don't know if Instagram is the spot, but a lot of collectors, that's we're using that space as a very easy way to showcase a collection online on social media. So you're right, right? Like this probably is a moment we don't even realize we're in. We're down the
Yeah,
road. There's going to be something new, but
right.
the diehards, the people that are really about it, and the people that this is like what they are passionate about, they're going to go back to those Instagram accounts like
Yeah, yeah.
yours and say like, yeah, this is it. So no, that's beautifully said. And I want to get to where we're showing off some of your collection here in a second. I just have one more question for you before we do about your collection criteria. So I get where you are with cards, both sketch cards and your set cards. As far as art goes, are these things where you are just picking up things that become available to you that you like, or do you have a very specific vision? I mean, obviously the masterpieces, right? Like you said, you're trying to
Yeah.
collect those, but are there other goals or themes like that that are part of your overall vision that like you have to hit that you're going for?
No, no, I've hit all the
Okay,
marks there. For I did have that. I should say this. I did have that criteria, but I've hit all those marks already.
nice. And
I
is
wanted the Fleer Ultra. I wanted the Fleer Ultra. I wanted a Marvel Masterpieces, and then I mean, there's only one Flare Juggernaut that exists. I know the guy who owns it,
oh,
but
okay.
like I just did it. I mean, it's a great piece. You know, I just like Juggernaut wasn't in Flare enough for. I don't know. I never put that as part of my criteria, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, so you know, that was what I said. I wanted the Fleer Ultra and I wanted the Masterpieces original art piece, and now I've got fucking three
Yeah, you're way
Masterpieces.
way past that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like all the benchmarks that I wanted to hit, I hit, you know. And then you know, like I wanted like an early, you know, 90s, something from the 90s sets as well, which those are a little bit more obsolete as far as finding those things now. Or obsolete shouldn't be, that's not the right word, but they're harder to find, like the
I got you. Yeah.
early 90s art for the most part. I say that, and there's been two Scarlet Witches pop up in the last like 2 weeks that are available now. But for Juggernaut, it's been I've only ever seen the Fleer Ultra X-Men 1994, and then but the obviously the hologram model that we're going to show off in a minute satisfied that for me. So that kind of hit that benchmark as well. As far as the OA goes, there's nothing else in the future that I'm looking forward that I need to grab to be able to like feel fulfilled from that space in any sort of a way.
Is there anything outside of cards and the art that are also you're putting in as part of your criteria collection, or is it specific to those two mediums?
Ask that question in a different way. I didn't quite fully understand that.
Anything outside of cards or art? Yeah, you're like cards or art. That's all there is. But like like figures, statues,
No, yeah, I don't do any
posters.
yeah, don't do any figures, don't do any I mean, I do collect 9.8 books too. That's a little bit tough to do that for Juggernaut though as well, because like, an X-Men 13 just sold for 50 grand on Heritage. So like other books, like at some point in time, I actually passed on an X-Men 32 9.8 that was in the same auction or an auction very similar around this time of this page, just so that I could for sure pick the page up because the page was more of a priority. But at some point, I'll have an X-Men 32 9.8. I've got like several of the Daughters of the Dragon books that are like kind of more vintage in 9.8s and stuff too, and I kind of have those in like I'm basically just setting those on top of a fireplace.
Okay,
Right. I'm not going to have a very vast, extensive collection of those. There's just like certain books that are like super key to me as a collector that I want to put up there. So
got it. Got it.
no figures though. Don't do any toys or anything like that. So
So it's basically art, cards, books, and
yeah,
that defines the collection. Those three
yeah,
kind of spaces of
correct.
collectibles. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I want to show some examples that you kindly shared here. So, if you are listening, we will do our best to describe what is on the screen. But if you are on YouTube, you'll actually be able to see this here. So I'm going to share my screen. And yeah, hey, I mean, Ryan, just talk us through what we're looking at here.
What you're looking at is the actual resin hologram model that they use to make the hologram cards for 95 annual Holoblast. This is important to me because, again, if you remember the reference to the discussion earlier, that's the first set of Marvel cards I ever got introduced to. This Juggernaut card, the hologram card, isn't the one that I was talking about that I got the PSA 10 in. I do have a PSA 10 in that. It didn't come till much, much later. The Juggernaut figure that you're seeing there, that's it's connected to the glass, and they use like light refraction to make the hologram itself. If you go to the next image, I
Yep.
think that we'll
And we got
oh,
a little close
yeah,
up of it.
that's the close up there of
Hmm.
what it looks like there, and then that in a crazy way has made its way to me. I ended up getting it framed this way. Big shout out to Dion, by the way. I'm going to talk more about him in this. Dude, he makes these cases like this. They're super affordable. They're super professionally done. He's super careful with it. all that is custom made for this exact display that I was making, and it costs like that costs less than like $200.
Wow, that's an
He does great,
amazing
great
price
work.
for
He's doing
that.
a
Holy
yeah,
crap.
he's doing a lot of really good work for me. So if anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to hit me up. I'll connect you with him. He is amazing to work with. Pretty good turnaround time. The work is always top notch. Very, very good instructions on how to put the stuff in there because he builds it and then sends it to you, which is crazy. He
Right.
doesn't actually have the pieces, right? And it does that. But anyway, so yeah, so I had I'm not a fan of CGC. But this one was a pristine 10 of that hologram card. So I decided to put it in there and leave the PSA with the rest of my PSA collection with Juggernaut. It's unfortunate you can't really see it in the photo right there, but the part where you see Deadpool is the print on the card, and the left of it is where the hologram is, where Juggernaut would be. And again, that model that you see there in the frame is what you would be seeing in the hologram card. So
That's
it's the
so
official
cool.
yeah, it's such a unique niche piece, right? Like nobody else has anything,
Yeah.
in a character collection, and stuff like that. It's so like cool that I was able to find that, or well, it found me, but that I was able to pick that up, man. It's an amazing piece to have, dude. It's like kind of like a conversation point anytime anybody ever sees my collection.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. All right, so moving on to this beautiful painting here.
yeah, yeah, that one was one. I'm so glad. I'm so happy with how this turned out. This is the Nahuel Grego 2024 Marvel Masterpieces original art for the Juggernaut card. Just I thought it was pretty simple as far as like putting together what I wanted this one to look like in my mind. Using the two like to the two kind of like smaller colors that appear in the image itself as the mats, and then a black mat for this one. Normally, I don't go really crazy for the black mats. A lot of people will only do black mats for the trading card art. I think that takes away from some of the art instead of. I think the argument is that some people focus better on the art if it's black, but for me, the only reason I did this one is because it made sense with the rest of the image, And then
Sure.
I wanted to get something, Juggernaut's a firm, fierce character, so I wanted to get something kind of like, like I almost viewed it as like, like a dog chain going around this thing here with this silver ornate, bit that was coming around there.
That's so
Um,
cool. Yep, I
yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
see that. Wow, I love it.
But yeah, so I love the way that one turned out. Really happy with that. Yeah, that was an amazing piece to be able to pick up. I'm glad that I have it. So
I feel you on the black mat though. Sometimes I'm like, I just want a little more than just the black
yeah,
mat. But
yeah.
that piece specifically, the way the entirety of pretty much all the edges fade into the black, it looks really nice. That's very tastefully done.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I spent a lot of time trying to analyze that stuff, man. So I really appreciate hearing that.
All right. So
And there's the
whew,
crown jewel there. That's
whew.
Leonardo da Vinci there. No, no, that's the Joe Jusko Battle Spectra 2016 Juggernaut versus Colossus. I mean, that dude. I know that they said this whenever they were. I don't know if you watched any of that presentation that Steve did whenever he like was
I
showing
did.
off that they had purchased all these. Dude, like what they say about those looking so much better in person. It's so true. I didn't know if that was like a selling point, because they were trying to sell some of these. But man, whenever you see this thing up close in person, dude, it's unfucking believable, dude. It's truly such a nice piece of fine art. It's absolutely insane. Even people that don't really like Marvel or don't really like Juggernaut, they come over to our house like that, see that, and they just go, God, like,
Yeah.
who is that? Like, and yeah, like again, this one, I just don't think a black. I mean, if you put a black mat around that, I just don't think it's like. I just think it just wouldn't look right. I don't know. That's just me. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I tried to make it look as like kind of have like a vintage museum look to it.
No, I totally see that. I
Kind of
like
was the aesthetic that I was going for there. I love the way this one turned out as well. Super happy with it. Just really, really,
no, it's a
you know,
perfect frame for it, man. That came out
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. I did like the what do they call it? Like if you look on the inside of the yellow mat, it's white, and then on the outside red mat, it's black. So like you get like a little bit like not getting the double white. I think takes a bit of
Yes.
gives it a little bit cooler of a feel as well. I'm like that detailed about it. Whenever I'm like
No, I am too. I was the same way when I did my framing for a lot of my pieces that I've got up. I totally get it, and I love seeing what other people do because it's funny. Like it doesn't seem like it's that hard, right? Like at face
yeah,
level
yeah.
before you start, and then you get to the framing shop and you're like, holy crap! There's
Yeah, there's such
just an
subtle things you
infinite
can
amount
do.
of options.
Yeah, yeah. Such subtle things can make such tremendous differences too. Yeah.
I 100% agree. No, that it came out great, man. Wow. All right. So we've got a nice portion of your display here, one of your display walls, if you want to talk
Yeah,
us through what
so
we're
well,
seeing.
yeah. So these walls are like are the walls that you were just looking at with the other pieces is there's a photo towards the end here where I'll kind of pull it all together. But this is the wall adjacent to that on the other side. This is one of the display cases that I have already had built. And this is like for the beginning of the collection here. Those spaces and the holes you see are like spots for cards that are going to be put in there. I have them.
How
I
big
just
is
like
this
haven't got them
case?
graded. Oh, it's like 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a massive case you've got on the wall. It looks
Yeah, it
great.
holds 90 cards, so, that's
Wow.
it's big as hell, yeah.
And for those listening,
Um,
this is like it's a totally clear from the front, like glass panel, just one massive glass panel of the 6 foot
Anti-UV
case.
glass there, plexi, all that, VU3 glass, all that.
Yeah, that's always so important to have too. And he's got these shelves basically that go through where the cards lay on each shelf. So this is literally, Ryan, exactly what I kind of have envisioned. Not like I don't know what the dimensions would be, but
Okay,
this is what I'm planning on building
okay,
with my dad
okay.
in the wood shop eventually. So I definitely want to talk to you more about this. That came out really nice.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, dude. I had them do it in the Juggernaut colors. Obviously, it's something that you
Yeah.
can't really see if unless you're like watching the video. I had them put like those ornate pieces on the corner, right, to give it like kind of
Yeah,
that more
yeah.
like that fierce kind of same kind of like concept look to it. I tried to make it like a it's a Juggernaut case, right? If you're if it fits the character if you're looking at it. And yeah, man, super stoked to have that. Super happy with the way it turned out. And there's gonna be more. I'm not gonna have them be the like. I want that one to be like a bit more like. If I had like 3 or 4 of these, I think it's gonna be like cooler to have like. I'm gonna have like ones that are half this size on the wall that's behind the wall that you're looking at
Okay.
for the rest of it. And because I think that like it makes like this side of the wall that much more like impactful, if that makes sense. I don't know, because it has all the art with it and stuff. Like I think the aesthetic of it would is better if I have like kind of smaller, like ones that hold like 50 cards per se, like one up top, one on the bottom, one up top, one on the bottom, going lining the other side of the wall, as opposed to like 3 or 4 more cases just like that. It makes more sense in my mind that way. I mean, whenever it's done, I'll show you kind of like whenever I post
Yeah,
photos of the
please
whole
do.
collection up. But yeah, I wanted like all like like the super like higher end stuff on like one side, and then just like the rest of it on the other. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, perfect sense. Perfect sense.
And for the rest of the stuff that's on that wall,
Oh,
sorry, just to
whoops.
back
Sorry.
up there,
Nope.
says
Let me
yeah.
go back.
So that's the Just Go reimagination Kickstarter of the 1992. So that's I actually have two Just Goes, I guess you could say. That's the reimagination, and then the preliminary there on the left is Dave Palumbo's preliminary for Marvel Masterpieces 2020, and then the one at the bottom is Tom Fleming's Fleer Ultra Wolverine original
That's
art for
so
the
good.
card art set. So yeah, so like there's a good variety there too, right? And like that's something that's gonna be like if you can you unzoom that real quick?
Yes.
Just unzoom the image just a bit. I'm gonna put probably I go a little bit further. Oh, yeah, there you go. There's a little bit of space above the model up there, right? You see that going towards the ceiling,
Mhm.
and I'm probably gonna put if I at some point in time I'm gonna hit up Joe. If I don't do Joe, then I'll just do the Tom Fleming ones that I've got. But I'm gonna do like actual like the prelim sketches and don't frame them with a mat, but just just because they're smaller, you know what I mean, and just fit them up there in that space so that I have an example of every stage of the art process as well, right? Because
That's
I
such a
have the
cool idea.
preliminary, the like the preliminary sketch, and then I'll have like the Dave Palumbo is the intermediary preliminary painting, and then I have like the full paintings, like the final products as well, to kind of give all stages of the production process.
Wow.
Um,
That'll be so cool if you do that.
yeah. It's just another touch that I'm gonna, that's just another thing that I've got on a list of endless things that I need to do to complete this thing. But that's the vision moving forward for the future. Is just to have like a sample of every stage of the art production process. So
I love it.
this is a different room here. This is downstairs. This is what my girlfriend has conveniently started calling Colleen's Wing, if you will, in our home. I love that. She actually thought of that. I love that. I have to give her
Genius.
credit for that. Yeah. So this is the so what you're looking at there, the display on the top left looks a little empty. It's because it is. That also Dion did amazing work on those, dude. I mean, they're just so professional looking, dude. I can't say enough good things about it. That is a 3/4 splash or a half splash, I should say, from Daughters of the Dragon 1, which is a reboot from 2006. And that one had comic cuts from Marvel Beginnings, and
Oh
those
man.
comic cuts are getting graded by PSA, and that's what's going to fit in those four
Oh
corners
wow.
around there. So instead of comic cuts, this is not to shit on anybody who does binders, Jimmy, but uh,
You can
I
shit
think
on me. It's
comic.
okay. I
You know,
get it.
I'm just kidding. Like I thought, what better way do comic cuts than display them with OA or books from the books that they're in,
No, I
and that's
love
just
it.
something creative that I came up with.
Now
So
that's
those
a new
cards are
goal
at
for me. You
PSA.
just
Yeah, those.
he
And
just
dude,
unlocked
again,
something for
you
me.
can make a display like this from Dion for less than $200, dude. And
Yeah.
it's such a
Yeah.
good. They're so custom
Oh,
built
that's
to like
awesome.
what we're doing. So the comic cuts from that book are at PSA. They will go in those holes that you see there with the command strips in there whenever they come back. The wonderful piece there in the center, the kind of crown jewel of that, is the Marvel Unbound Fred Ian. If
Yep.
you can't get a Fred Ian sketch card, right? Why not
Yeah,
just buy
just
the
get the
damn
original
painting?
art,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Of Colleen and Misty's trading card art from Marvel Unbound, and the original art that you see down there below there is like various different things that I picked up over time. I mean, at some point there's going to have to be a conversation about like in the OA art world, like I mean, Misty and Colleen are like D tier characters, right? They're not like super high end A listers by any
Sure.
means or whatever. But I
Sure.
have like a pretty wild or I'm building a pretty wild like collection of OA of their stuff that's like it's going to be pretty like top end whenever it's done. It would be hard to argue that somebody would have a better collection of their stuff. Like for example, remember the Daughters of the Dragon, whenever they were named that originally, was in a book called Deadly Hands of Kung Fu 32 and 33. Those books were like Marvel magazine style books. That's actually where I first got exposed. I first got exposed to him to Colleen because she's originally Iron Fist's OG sidekick, dating back to like his Marvel premiere comics. But I really fell in love with the characters even more after I read Deadly Hands of Kung Fu 32 and 33, which ironically were books that my dad had in his collection, but I could never read them because there actually is a fully nude uh, image of Colleen in that book, which is really wild that they had that in there.
That
It
is
was almost
crazy.
like Sin City esque, that storyline,
So, oh wow, that's
which was really
crazy.
cool. Like there's some like hardcore like stuff in that book, and the way those books worked was half the story is in one book, half the story was in the next book, and like the Marvel magazine, a lot of them would have. So for example, like Deadly Hands of Kung Fu 32, the first half of the book was like a Shang-Chi storyline that was continuing on from an earlier book, and then the second half of it was Daughters of the Dragon. For the very first time, Misty and Colleen were the main characters of a storyline together, and it's really cool. It's like this really cool like revenge story. I highly recommend checking this out if you like good stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Claremont was the writer. This like early Claremont, like
Okay.
and they go to Hong Kong to avenge Colleen's grandfather got killed. They go to a funeral in Japan, and like her uncle says like, hey, you got to go avenge this. So her and Misty go to Hong Kong to hunt down this guy that like had her grandfather assassinated, and it's like this crazy storyline, like almost like I said, very Sin City esque. It's got a lot of like hardcore, like way mature themes to it that were like not really done by Marvel at that time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so those since they were part of another book, they never had a cover. They were just like they were just pieces of the story, and then the book would be like a painted, or the cover image would be like a painted artwork or whatever. That piece right there below the trading card art there, the third one from the left, is they did a reissue of those stories that Marshall Rogers was the artist on and Claremont was the author for
Okay.
whenever the 2006 reboot came out. Like the art that you're seeing in the big display up on the top left is from the reboot. The one in the center there is the reissue cover though. So after all those years, he finally got
Wow.
to do a cover before he died in 2006, dude. And that
Wow.
cover is like, I know that photo is not the greatest quality there and stuff, but that cover is absolutely gorgeous, dude. It's crazy detailed, and it's just Colleen and Misty just mauling off this mob of people, and that's part of the storyline of what happens to them in Hong Kong. There is they get surrounded and attacked by like a group of these like guys that are associated with the person that they're looking for, and like they just like to fight them off. And it's just it's one of the greatest. I mean, I love that cover image, dude. I think it's such great artwork. So happy to have had that one. I couldn't believe that one popped up, because again, like there's no covers for those stories. If you want OA pages, like this is like the pinnacle of it, if you
Yeah.
will, right? And that was really cool to pick that up.
Stupid cool, dude. That's
That one on
awesome.
the one to the left of that is Kari Evans, who did the art in the reboot. That's one of the covers. That's my favorite cover of that series. It's a 6-part mini series. Love that he is an African American artist. He put a lot of hip hop and African American cultural elements into this storyline, and I thought it was super cool to see that. You get a lot of like Urban Outfitters costume styles and stuff like that. You got Misty looking like Missy Elliott in some of the books and stuff like that. And it was really cool that to find this cover because I thought that one captured kind of that urban streetwear hip hop vibes the best. And so that one you see there, it has Iron Fist and Misty and Colleen on there.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
cool, really cool like pop culture cover sort of thing that I thought captured all those themes from those books really well. And then that one on the right, it's another. There was 3 iterations of Marshall Rogers and Claremont doing Daughters of the Dragon storylines. First 2 were the ones that we were just talking about in Deadly Hands of Kung Fu 32 and 33, and then in Bizarre Adventures 25, which is another Marvel magazine, they did another storyline. It's actually a vampire horror storyline, which is really cool. A really awesome, great cover. It wasn't a cover; it was a title splash there, where you see
Okay.
Misty and Colleen trying to run away from like these people of this vampire clan that are trying to hunt after them there and stuff like that. And again, like this has got to be some of the top end like comic art that these characters have ever had since they're like the feature pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
of course, there's always the argument. Misty first appearance page sold for $10,000 on Heritage not that long ago, and the reason that price was so high was because in Marvel Premiere 21, which is where she starts at, there's only 2 pages that show her in the book. So like the rarity of those pages to begin with, if you're a first appearance collector, it would
Sure.
be. But as far as cover
Totally.
art, title splash art, stuff like that, for these characters, like this is like as top end as you can really get with it and stuff like that. I'm super super happy to have that stuff, man. Really cool, really thankful.
And now we've all been introduced to Colleen's Wing.
Yeah. And now you've seen Colleen.
So here's another shot. It looks like this is kind of just
Yeah,
tying
this
everything
is
together
this is the
here.
setup. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then obviously here on the left on the smaller wall, Dan will go underneath Noel there, and that's where the piece will
Perfect.
sit. Yeah, it's a perfect layout. As far as that goes and stuff. Great wall selection. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then just to bring this back, this is a little cluttered here, so sorry for the mess here, but
That's
I wanted
okay.
to, I wanted I wanted to show this one here because if you look at the left there,
Yeah, we
that
got
piece that's
something
hanging
going
up
on
there.
there.
Yeah, this is going to be another one of this one's going to be a little bit more intricate. What I have there in the center, if you can't make it out, is a 9.8 of Amazing Spider-Man 229, which is the big book that Juggernaut and Spider-Man are featured in together.
Nice.
And that one also got comic cuts from Marvel Beginnings, so I decided to make a goal to collect 12 of them when I do, grade them with
Whoa.
PSA, and then put them in the
And you already
display
have
there
all
as well.
12?
They are also
They're
a
all
PSA
okay.
currently.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's other ones I'm working on for this too, right? Like I'm working on one for X-Men 102, and then Amazing Adventure 16. I'm also working on ones for those. I'm close on those as well, just haven't quite gotten there yet. And when I do, we'll do the display like this as well to be able to display the cuts that way. But yeah, that's kind of like that. This is obviously is a separate floor of my house. Like this is kind of like downstairs where I do all my like nerdy card stuff at. Get all my
Nice.
do all my like thorough inspection there under that light on the top of the desk there to make sure those corners are going to be perfect for a Gem Mint 10. So
We all need the card room. You got to have a card room.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in my card room.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And then that's just like another shot there of it there. So
Nice. And I think that was all of them, right?
yeah, I believe that's everything. Yeah, that's kind of the
Wow,
layout
man.
of the way I've got stuff. So
What a
it's
freaking
coming
collection.
together. It's coming together. At the end, whenever all that stuff's like, whenever I have all the cuts in there, whenever I have all the displays on the wall and stuff like that, it's gonna be really special. Whenever I finally get to
Dude,
that point
yeah.
where I can say it's done.
That's incredible. That is literally incredible, man. So
Thank you. Yeah.
before we wrap this up, are there any tips that you would like to share for people who are either A, just getting into collecting, or maybe B, I guess this could be people into collecting or people have been doing it a while, but they want to really move to this master character collecting level at some capacity?
Money management would be a big one, I guess. Understanding what you're getting into, do your homework on it. Make sure that the goals that you set for yourself are realistic so that you can't find yourself disgruntled with the way that the process is going. I don't know, it's something to take this just like one step further, like something that me and Fausto have talked about is like, I don't know like how realistic doing something like this is. Maybe it's still doable like right now, but if we get like 4 or 5 years of Topps Chrome releases the same caliber of what they are, dude, like character collecting in this way will just not be, it won't be facilitatable at all in any sort of a way. I don't even know if that's the right word again, but just to think that every set you'd be doing would be Marble Platinum over and over and over and over and over again. It's like it's not really there. It just doesn't seem like realistic in any sort of a way. So I don't know if like master character collecting, if you're going to call it that, will be a thing moving forward that much, just because of how strenuous that process will be.
And it
I
may
don't
just
think you're
have to
gonna
be redefined. Like it might
Yeah,
just,
exactly. Or yeah, it may just have, we never, Fausto played around with like trying to define what a master character collector was.
Yeah,
And
I guess I should
thought
use that term loosely. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that there
yeah,
is
yeah.
a specific way. I guess I mean more to what maybe you might consider or someone else might consider. We might have to rethink how you're setting your own goals, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, if you're using what I'm doing as the example, right? Like, nobody's a master. I mean, there's very few master characters in that
Sure.
sense. Like if you're going all the way down to like what the depths of hell that I go to with this, like out of fives, out of tens, every one of one,
Right.
so I mean, yeah, I mean, if we were to ever actually have defined terminology, it should be like let's say it was 75% of the person's cards or something like that would make you a master character collector or something along those lines. But again, like moving forward, dude, I just don't know how like people will be able to sustainably do this.
Yeah.
Like rainbowing everything. It just won't be a thing. So yeah, as far as advice, so what did you say? Advice and
Just any
then
tips you wanted to give? If
trading card database. Trading card database. I know other people have shouted that out on here too. Love that. If you're trying to become a character collector, that's a good reference point. They are missing a few things here and there and stuff like that, but it's a great foundation for trying to figure out like backdated. Those guys are
Oh
white
yeah.
knights on there that update that stuff, dude. I don't know who those guys are, but somebody needs to give those guys a couple dollar tip because I love going on there and seeing like even modern sets are still getting put on there, dude. Those guys
Yep.
are uploading every parallel. I don't know who they are, but I mean God bless them, dude, because like they are doing the Lord's work there, seriously. So.
They are. They are. It's a great resource. All right, Ryan, I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions, and then we got a
Sure.
couple questions from listeners, and we're going to close this thing out.
Okay.
Just say the first thing that pops up in your mind. An artist that you want to do Juggernaut that you currently don't have, like a commission
David
sketch.
Finch.
David Finch. Cards or art, if you had to pick one.
It will at some point in time. I will do it as well once I have some of this wrapped up. But that's going to be just one other small tidbit here, just
Yeah.
so we're not running over too much time. That's going to be where like one thing that I think we should talk about is like where people are going to next, or what's going to be next for some of us. I'm really fallen in love with some of these TD art drops. I not to plug them like super hard here, but they're doing some things that I think that are going to be really cool for our community to see, especially sketch collectors, trading card collectors who are kind of like trying to find their footing again. They're doing themed art drops. They did two so far. The first one was Superman.
Really?
Second one was Spider-Man.
Okay.
And what she's doing is she's having all the artists that are under her blanket and an umbrella do sketch cards, and then they're doing like a YouTube show and they're putting them up for sale that way. And what as a character collector, whenever I was watching this one, I didn't watch the Superman one. I watched the Spider-Man one. It made me think of trading card sets just naturally from the way that I think about stuff. And I talked to Tatiana, and what they're going to start doing is they're going to make them they're going to add layers of collectability to it. And I think it's incredible, and it's going to be something that really will help with crossover. And for people like me who are looking for something to do moving forward, they're going to make them like limited, right? So like there's gonna be like 100 cards, and then she's gonna give the artist proofs too.
Oh,
So
I
let's
like that
say,
a lot.
and she's gonna make like her own brand of sketch card sets.
Yeah.
Essentially, is what it's gonna be, right? And they're all gonna be original art. She's gonna have her own card stock. They're gonna be custom. The backs of them are gonna be specific to like say for example, you have a Spider-Man set in the future. Her logo and all that stuff will be red and blue. The cards will be numbered, and then they'll have original art done by artists that are under her umbrella on the front of them, and then they'll be up for sale. And you can collect them, like I said. She's going to do a binder to where you have a TD art binder to collect all of your sketch cards in and stuff like that. Love the ideas that she's playing with right now. If she puts all that into motion, dude, it could be really, really cool to have like that level of collectability with OA as well, moving forward with something in the future, So I wanted to just throw that out there. But commissions and that sort of avenue will be what I go to eventually next. So a David Finch Juggernaut painting at some point in time will be in my future whenever I can afford it, and have comfortably kind of put a lot of this like as far as the way I want the collection to look behind me and stuff like that. So David Finch for sure.
So it sounds like art is at this
Yeah,
point
I
what
mean
you would pick.
everything was art to begin with, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what brought us all here to begin with. So
Yeah, I agree. Best Marvel card set.
man, that's a good question, dude. Best Marvel card set, complete body of work, dude. Maybe I'm gonna say I think the complete body of work Dan did was the best complete body of Marvel masterpiece work that was done. Even though there's certain paintings of other artists that I think are better than Dan's individual paintings of those characters, his complete body of work as a whole was better than any of the other ones. So I'm gonna say Marvel masterpieces 2022.
Okay, all right, we'd have the same answer. Okay, here's one Juggernaut question: helmet on or off?
On.
Oh, there you go. Colleen versus Juggernaut. Who's gonna win?
Juggernaut.
If you could raid one collector's vault, assuming you have permission to, who are you raiding?
Jose Caballero.
That's a really good answer. That was quick
because he has some vintage sketch cards that the world has never seen in years in there that I would want to just kind of like look through and see what even exists is the way I would want. I wouldn't even like care about the whole aspect of if I was going to have access to some of it. I just want to know what actually exists. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You can only keep one. I'm actually really interested to hear how you answer this. You can only keep one. Your favorite Juggernaut card or your favorite piece of OA of Colleen?
Man, that's a good one actually. That's a good one actually.
So favorite Colleen art or favorite Juggernaut card? You can only keep one.
My favorite Juggernaut card is the High Series 2021 X-Men Metal, which is that Warner Roth art title splash from X-Men 33 that I was talking about. My
Gotcha.
favorite Colleen original art is that Marshall Rogers reissue cover that I have, and I would keep the OA. I would keep
The
the
OA.
OA. It would be
Okay.
so tough, dude. I'm getting buried with that card probably. So like that's like how, as sentimental it is to me and stuff like that. But yeah, that OA is just like so special, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I even had the opportunity to buy that. So.
Yeah. Hey, no wrong answer, Who this is a stupid question. Who wins in a foot race, Juggernaut Rhino or Willie Lumpkin?
Ooh, probably Rhino, right? Probably.
Hey man,
Or
all I'm saying is I don't ever count my boy Willie out, so
yeah, I don't know. I mean, is Rhino allowed interference? Because if Rhino's allowed interference, he's probably beating everybody.
Yeah, that's
But
true. That's true. Rhino might get it, but I don't know. Willie, he might be the underdog.
maybe, yeah. It's definitely not Juggernaut. We'll
Hey
say
man,
that.
he's delivered a
So
lot of mail,
yeah.
Okay, I got two left for you. Would you rather Thanos snap half your collection away or Deadpool watch your collection for one night unsupervised?
Deadpool watch my collection for one night unsupervised.
Would you
I wouldn't have
rather
any Juggernaut cards left, but the Colleen stuff might still be there because he has a sword too. So
that's what I was wondering. I was like, you might lose more than half.
yeah.
All right, last one. Would you rather Juggernaut crack your slabs open or Wolverine help re-sleeve the cards?
Wolverine, probably. Wolverine.
Yeah, I think I would pick that too. All right, sir. You made it through rapid fire. Let's get into some listener questions.
Lumpkin's letters.
All right, our friend Jordan, JU Cards 2221. He said, if you had to start your collection all over again, what would you do differently?
One thing that I think about all the time is, especially in my earlier stages, I was just mass submitting to PSA, like hoping for one to come back as a 10. Wasted a lot of money doing that. But I also did learn some stuff from doing it that way. I learned to like figure out criteria to where now I like pretty much know like whether or not a card has a chance at a 10. Remember, I'm just looking at it. One other thing too would be like, don't like there were times where I would buy things that were outside of like what I planned to PC, just because I liked them, or also thought they could be good trade material, to like work into things that I would need to get access to and stuff. Don't do any of that shit either. Don't waste your time. Like a lot of that stuff I ended up reselling or what have you at like a pretty significant loss. So be sure in your criteria is one thing that I would tell my younger or my earlier version of collecting
That's a great
of
answer.
myself.
And then he also asked, what is an artist that you do not have that you would really want a sketch from? Which I guess I kind of already asked that a second ago, but any others you want to mention?
Well, so I mean, if we're talking about, I mean, if he's asking about a sketch card, that may be different, right?
Okay.
But if
Okay.
we're talking about like OA, David Finch would be like probably the top person that I would. I mean, Yuko is somebody that I mean, anyway, I'm answering a different question now. I don't need to do that. Sketch card artists, there are none now. Happily, that I can say that there's not a single sketch card artist that I did not want to hit that I have not hit now with the Freddie and being in the PC, which is incredible. We're talking
That's amazing.
Maliki, a car, Liddy Lee. I have two Liddy Lee Juggernauts actually, which is crazy. Who did I say? Freddie and Maliki Carr, Ash, Eric Grove. I mean, Ethics. By some miracle, I've also got an Ethics Juggernaut. Yeah, fantastic.
Ethics right behind me.
Yeah, she just really great work there. And yeah, there's not anybody who was like there's some artists that I still like am interested in working with and doing some stuff with, but ones that were like for sure that I have to do, there are actually none left, and I'm so happy to say that.
Our friend Matt marvelously sketched. He said, "Do you have the MM22 prelim art Juggernaut card? If you do, how was your journey getting it?"
Well, not only do I have it, I have that in a PSA 10, but
Nice.
I'm the way that I collect is also different from a lot of these other collectors or character collectors that are smarter than me who wait for things to kind of cool off. My approach to it was I'm just getting this stuff right off the press really early on, getting it done, getting ready for the next one. That was my approach, right? And that just whenever you collect the way that I do, it just made things a lot easier that way for me not to to be able to focus on like one complete set, make a list of the cards from their parallels of that set, mark those off, right? Whereas if I had like 5-10 sets of stuff where I had like missing one or two cards or what have you, it makes it kind of like you had a situation like this the other day, you said, where you thought you had a Scarlet Witch Emerald out of 25. Sorry to bring up
Yep.
try to rip that Band-Aid back off, but
That's okay.
that's what
I love thinking about it, Ryan. It's great.
Respectfully, that sort of stuff is like exactly what I didn't want to like have happen, right? And so I tried to make it as organized as I could by keeping up with every set. So whenever those cards started popping up, prior to the set being released on ePact, I bought, I think I bought 2 copies of it. I have ended up giving one of those or selling one of those to somebody after the EPAC situation happened because of the lack of them, or the complete lack of them being released on EPAC whatsoever. So it just, essentially 50% of those cards immediately. But I just got it on eBay right off the rip there.
Nice, nice. Graydon, our buddy, Last Pack Magic, he said, who would win in a bar fight, Sabretooth or Juggernaut?
Come on. Come on. There's an entire comic that's Juggernaut in a bar fight, and he, narrowly loses in that one. And he would smash Sabretooth, though. So
you might have some DMs coming from Graydon after this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he's got to say. I'll listen to a fair argument. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even if it's the wrong one. I like to say so.
That's right. That's right. All right, Fausto's going to close us out. He said Ryan is unstoppable, no questions.
Oh, well, thank you, Fausto. Yeah, a lot of people, Justin Spidey hits and everything, like say that the way that I collect is also unstoppable. So it mirrors Juggernaut in that way as well. So I love to hear that, man. Thank you very much,
dude. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today. I know this was a lot of time to take up, so I really appreciate you giving me your time and the listeners your time. I learned a lot from this episode, and I hopefully our listeners did as well. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we end the episode?
I always, anytime I do something like this, I always want to say too, anybody has anything that they ever want to reach out to me about, feel free to, message me. I want to try to help other collectors, help other people as much as I can, especially if you do like card grading stuff like that. I've got like a pretty like big arsenal of knowledge about how to like know what you're looking for as far as like trying to get 10s and stuff like that. Kind of made that an art form in my own right. And yeah, any other ideas or concepts that you've heard me talk about today and you want to get more information on, Dion, if you want to like reference to him for the displays, any stuff like that, feel free to hit me up.
Awesome, man. Well, Ryan, thank you again. Everyone else, hey, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you gave a thumbs up and a comment on the YouTube video, or if you're over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen in the audio formats, if you can just drop a 5-star rating and hit the subscribe button. That helps the show so much. Ryan, I really hope to get you on again someday, brother. Maybe after OAX
sure
we can do a fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'm looking forward to meeting you there. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. But everyone, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time. See y'all.